Zhong Ao's cultivation had also reached the origin-returning realm, but he was not necessarily stronger than Hali Ka or Lin Mufeng. In fact, thanks to him constantly immersing himself in alchemy, it was quite likely he was much weaker than them. But after 100 years of providing Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce with an unimaginably massive number of pills without taking any form of compensation had caused his status as an honored guest to reach the highest level possible. President AIO himself also paid close attention to Zhong Ao and had explicitly ordered Hali Ka and the other branch leaders to treat Zhong Ao as if he were a high-level executive of the Chamber of Commerce. It was not an exaggeration to say that on Rainfall Star, the one with the highest status was Zhong Ao. As such, these origin-returning realm masters had to tread very carefully when facing Zhong Ao, none of them daring to act the slightest bit careless or disrespectful. Even knowing that Zhong Ao was going to rob the profounding sunflower water right in front of them, they didn't dare try to stop him forcefully, their only option to beg him to show mercy. The three branch leaders took turns wearing out their tongues in a desperate attempt to persuade Zhong Ao, but all they managed to achieve was to annoy him, with Zhong Ao unleashing an anger-filled scolding on them. Facing this tirade of insults and curses, Hali Ka and the others had no choice but to stand there and accept it with bitter faces. After growing tired of scolding the trio, Zhong Ao paused and cast a sneer onto them. "Don't think this old master doesn't know you don't dare to report this matter to the home star. At the very least, until you can ensure that little girl is no longer in any danger, you will make every effort to conceal what's happened here. So, even if this old master pockets the profound in sunflower water, what do you plan to do? Bite me?" After hearing these words, Hali Ka and the other executives exchanged helpless glances, the bitterness on their faces growing ever stronger, none of them daring to respond. Treasures of the world belong to those who have the ability to obtain them, Zhong Ao stated bluntly. Even if this old master decides to give way here and not seize this profound in sunflower water, can any of you collect it? Do you even know how to go about collecting it? If you don't understand even have such a method, at most you'll all just be able to sit there drooling over the meat near your mouth, unable to ever eat it. What Grandmaster says is reasonable. Hali Ka no longer argued his case and simply responded despondently. Does Grandmaster know how to collect the profound in sunflower water? The middle-aged woman, on the other hand, read the meaning behind Zhong Ao's words and asked expectantly, "If this old master didn't know how to collect it, why would I be standing here now?" Zhong Ao snorted and waved. "Make way, after this old master collects these things we can speak further," no longer caring about Hali Ka or the others in his way. Zhong Ao grabbed Yang Kai and flew into the mine shaft, acting no different from a bandit. Hali Ka and Lin Mufeng glanced at each other briefly before gritting their teeth and following after him. Inside the mine, Yang Kai followed behind Zhong Ao and showed him the way. The last time Yang Kai came in alone, he had relied on his ability to tear space to advance deep into the ancient ruins with ease. But this time he obviously couldn't do so. The hidden arrays and traps inside the ruins were both difficult to avoid and deadly. When Hali Ka and Shui Yu first investigated these ruins, they had lost a number of cultivators along the way. However, Zhong Ao was obviously not an ordinary man, and as he led the way, he held up a 5-cornered prism that projected a glittering light in front of the pair, illuminating every inch of the mine tunnel. Every now and then, the light would illuminate some nearly imperceptible energy fluctuations, and Zhong Ao would carefully lead Yang Kai to avoid their origins. This 5-cornered prism seemed to have some sort of detection function, and using it, Zhong Ao was able to avoid hidden dangers. Although their pace was slow, it was without any danger, so the trip was actually quite relaxed. The temperature in the air gradually became lower, and a thin layer of ice soon appeared on the stone walls of the mine. Zhong Ao's expression grew excited as he knew that they were drawing closer to the profound in sunflower water. Hali Ka's group was following not far behind Zhong Ao and Yang Kai, communicating with one another using their divine senses as they walked, discussing how to handle the situation, anxiously trying to come up with some kind of feasible plan. "Boy, where to now?" Zhong Ao stopped at a fork and asked Yang Kai. "This way." Yang Kai pointed in a certain direction, his divine sense threads having long ago broken through the constraints of space to map the route to the profound in sunflower water. Zhong Ao didn't doubt him and walked straight into the fork. Continuing forward for a long time, Zhong Ao, who was leading the way, suddenly came to a halt, squinting his eyes as he looked up ahead, his body trembling uncontrollably as a frenzied look appeared on his face. Where he was staring were several dozen drops of profound sunflower water, each one strangely suspended in midair, still in the exact same state as when Yang Kai had left, just waiting to be collected. It really is profound sunflower water. Zhong Ao's divine sense swept over the drops and immediately realized their extraordinariness. Although they were currently floating lightly, each drop was actually as heavy as a mountain and contained a terrifying amount of power. Besides profound sunflower water, there was no other treasure that possessed such properties in this world. Sprinting forward, Zhong Ao quickly arrived in front of several dozen drops of profound sunflower water, his eyes sparkling as he swept his eyes around, a big grin appearing on his face. Being able to make someone as aloof as Zhong Ao react so crassly made it apparent just how valuable this profound sunflower water was. Yang Kai remained calm and indifferent, standing to the side without moving, not having any ideas about snatching this profound sunflower water. He understood the limits of his abilities, let alone Zhong Ao, Hali Ka, and others who were following them. Footsteps sounded and Hali Ka's group also emerged one after another, standing next to Yang Kai, staring forward bitterly. The several dozen drops of profound sunflower water before them made their eyes all go red. This was one of the most precious cultivation treasures in existence, and as long as one could safely refine even a drop of it, it would greatly increase their strength. Even if it was an origin returning realm masters such as Hali Ka, the improvement in strength would be noticeable. Having reached their current cultivation, it had become increasingly difficult to make further progress, and even breaking through a minor realm could take hundreds, if not thousands of years, and that was only if they encountered enough opportunities. Refining profound sunflower water, although risky, would return even greater benefits if successful. How could they not be tempted? Each of the masters present had experienced countless life or death battles and had explored the heavenly way and martial Tao whilst on the edge of death, growing to the current level step by step, so they were clearer than anyone that the greater the danger, the greater the reward. But now they were only able to watch from a distance, not daring to step forward. When you found the profound sunflower water, was it sealed inside a space ring? Zhong Ao asked suddenly. Yang Kai had given him a brief description of the profound sunflower water, but what Yang Kai knew was limited, so he hadn't explained in detail. Yes, Grandmaster. Hali Ka shivered slightly and responded. Wasting the heavens' precious gifts. Wasting the heavens' precious gifts. Zhong Ao cursed. Actually trying to place these things into a space ring. That ancient person seems to have been quite ignorant, but thanks to his inane act, this profound sunflower water was preserved. If he hadn't stored them like this, who knows where they might have sunk to by now. The several people listened nearby didn't have any clue what Zhong Ao was talking about. Lin Mufeng cupped his fists and asked, "Please enlighten us, Grandmaster." Zhong Ao grinned. Each drop of profound sunflower water is as heavy as a mountain, not something that can be held within a space ring. After that ancient times person loaded the profound sunflower water into that space ring, he must have died without a chance to carry it off. Otherwise, it would have exploded long ago. Hali Ka quickly said, "We were also caught by surprise because the space ring exploded at the time, resulting in heavy casualties. That is only natural." Zhong Ao nodded. On top of that, once these droplets touch any kind of soil, they will continue to sink deeper into the ground. Do you know why profound sunflower water is so rare? Everyone shook their heads. It is because every drop that is formed sinks to the core of the star and is absorbed by the star source, making it extremely difficult to discover. The star source will absorb not just the profound sunflower water, but many other rare treasures as well. Everyone was shocked by this remark. They knew that the star source was the root of every cultivation star, literally the heart of the star, but none of them knew that star sources and profound sunflower water had such a relationship. Fortunately, these dozens of drops of profound sunflower water haven't touched the ground yet. Otherwise, they may have disappeared long ago. Zhong Ao took a deep breath before summoning out a strange-looking container from his space ring. This contained was shaped like a small vase, with a wide opening, thin neck, and large body. It was formed by a strange and colorful material that gave off faint flashes of light. 5-colored meteor essence. Halika gasped, at a glance realizing what material this contained was made from. Lin Mufeng and the middle-aged woman also couldn't help revealing some shock as well. Yang Kai did not miss their reactions and immediately understood that this 5-colored meteor essence should be a highly valuable ore. Otherwise, the 3 origin returning realm masters wouldn't have revealed such gaffes. Yes, this is made of 5-colored meteor essence. Zhong Ao laughed. Few people know that 5-colored meteor essence is the nemesis of profound in sunflower water. To receive profound in sunflower water, you only need to use 5-colored meteor essence to build an appropriate storage container. As he laughed, Zhong Ao pointed the vessel towards a drop of profound in sunflower water, then motivated his strength to collect it. Hali Ka and others watched this with ugly expressions, their faces twitching, their moods ugly. Although 5-colored meteor essence was precious, their Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce still had a supply of it, and despite the small amount, building a vessel to store a few drops of liquid would not be an issue. If they had only known this, they would have already collected the profound in sunflower water. Then how could Zhong Ao have robbed it from them? Hali Ka had even lost an arm just to find this precious cultivation treasure. Recalling all this, the expressions of the 3 fluctuated greatly. Zhong Ao, on the other hand, didn't pay Hali Ka and others any mind, gleefully collecting the drops of profound in sunflower water by himself and only stopping when 10 drops remained, solemnly holding his special container while glancing over at Hali Ka. Don't say this old master eats meat and chews bones without leaving any soup behind. Young ones, I'll leave these here. Find a way to collect these last drops of profound in sunflower water. Don't tell me you can't find 5-colored meteor essence. Zhong Ao never planned to monopolize such huge benefits all to himself. These droplets were discovered by Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce, and Rainfall Star was a cultivation star under Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's control. Zhong Ao had relied on his aloof status to take 80% of the profound in sunflower water. But this was the limit. If he were to try to take it all, he couldn't guarantee that Hali Ka and the others present wouldn't disregard his face and act against him. Zhong Ao didn't have confidence he could deal with so many masters at or above his own cultivation realm. As such, he took the initiative to step back, leaving 10 drops of profound in sunflower water for them. Hali Ka and the others heard Zhong Ao's words and couldn't contain their shock, soon feeling their blood boil with excitement as they cupped their fists. Many thanks, Grandmaster. Although 5-colored meteor essence is rare, we can still procure some. Good. Then you best move quickly. Only heaven knows when these profound in sunflower water will suddenly fall down and sink to the star's core. Zhong Ao waved his hand and walked out while holding his own container. Hali Ka did not dare to delay, leaving only the middle-aged woman to stand guard here, while he and Lin Mufeng rushed back to the branch to search for 5-colored meteor essence inside their warehouse. Yang Kai followed silently behind Zhong Ao all the way out of the ancient ruins. Afterwards, the pair summoned their star shuttles and returned to the Mountain Valley Palace. Back inside the room, Shuiyu was still sleeping peacefully, just as Yang Kai had left her, and after confirming that nothing was wrong with her, Yang Kai immediately went to find Zhong Ao. It seemed that because he had acquired a precious treasure like profound in sunflower water, Zhong Ao was extremely jubilant, and when Yang Kai came over, he was crazily performing alchemy inside his pill room to vent his excess energy. Zhong Ao poured his Saint Qi into the several dozen pill furnaces, causing all of them to hum. Magical and mysterious spirit arrays were constructed inside the pill furnaces by Zhong Ao simultaneously, as he scattered herbs from his space ring like snowflakes, rapidly condensing various different medicinal liquids all at once. Yang Kai couldn't help his eyes from widening as he stared at this incredible scene. He had never thought such a frenzied type of alchemy existed in this world where one person actually used more than 24 pill furnaces, refining several dozen types of pills, all at the same time. At this moment, he finally understood why Zhong Ao could produce so many pills for Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce. Judging from his fluid movements and obvious proficiency, Zhong Ao had done this more than once or twice and had created a shocking yet systematic method of mass pill refining. Yang Kai possessed a conflagrated knowledge sea and had mastered various ancient spirit arrays which gave him many unique advantages in alchemy. But he still had no way to replicate the astonishing scene in front of him. At most, Yang Kai figured he could handle 4 or 5 pill furnaces by himself. There are always higher heavens and one must always strive to improve. Yang Kai felt a deep sense of inspiration and respect for Zhong Ao and simply stood in the door, carefully observing this grandmaster's movements. Zhong Ao showed no intention of driving him away, allowing him to watch all he wanted, the excitement on his face never once fading, instead becoming more and more flushed. The delicate spirit arrays which he portrayed with his Saint Chi appeared in different pill furnaces, melding together with the ones already present to create even more profound designs, providing great catalytic effects to his alchemy. Everything was smooth and methodical, without the slightest flaw apparent. After half a day, inside the pill room, various pill aromas wafted through the air, a single whiff of which could refresh a person's spirits and warm their body. Yang Kai's eyes became even more focused. "Come!" Zhong Ao shouted suddenly, and the several dozen pill furnaces all trembled as their lids flew off and colored pills shot out, each one falling like a single raindrop into pre-prepared jade bottles. Zhong Ao tossed a restorative pill into his mouth, recovering his own Saint Chi while he strode over impatiently to the jade bottles, picked them up, and began checking through them one by one. After a long time, he finished his inspection, and a somewhat dissatisfied look appeared on his face as he grumbled, Only 2 pills are really hard to refine." Saying so, he put away 2 pills which had formed pill veins into another bottle before tossing the rest away. This scene was somewhat familiar, as Yang Kai had once seen Zhong Ao perform it when he first brought Shui Yu here, causing his brow to furrow as he asked, "Is Senior's alchemy method attempting to increase the chance of pill veins appearing?" Zhong Ao turned and sat in his chair, grinning as he nodded. "You have some good eyes, boy. And this old master created such a troublesome alchemy method just to increase the chance of forming pill veins." After a pause, he continued, "The appearance of pill veins is something decided by luck. Even the best alchemists cannot guarantee that the pill they refine will surely form pill veins. But when a skilled alchemist refines low-grade pills, the chances of pill veins forming will be much greater. This old master has been studying the production of pill veins for hundreds of years, and it was not until 100 years ago that he struck upon the idea of producing them by increasing the total volume of pills. If not for this, why would this old master not charge Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce anything, essentially performing alchemy for them for free? If not for this old master wanting them to provide me with an abundance of herbs, how could I have let them take advantage of me for so long? Refining pills like Zhong Ao consumed far too many spirit grasses and spirit medicines. Without the vast capital of a great force behind him, it would be impossible to continue this practice for long. Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce was the richest force in the entire star field, so it was naturally the best choice. Zhong Ao and Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's cooperation greatly benefited each other. "How is Senior's progress?" Yang Kai asked with interest. Zhong Ao sighed softly. "Difficult. Far too difficult. The longer you pursue this path, the more you find how difficult refining pills really are. This old master isn't afraid of making a little boy like you laugh, but after so long, my success rate is only 1 or 2 out of every 100 pills with pill veins. And this old master means pills above St. King grade, of course. 1 or 2 out of every 100, in short, he needed to refine 100 pills to get 1 or 2 with pill veins. This percentage may seem small, but considering the entire alchemy profession, it was already a sensational number. Many alchemists would spend their entire lives and only refine 1 or 2 pills with pill veins out of sheer luck. But every time Zhong Ao performed this mass alchemy, he would almost always produce at least 1 such pill. This old master has even managed to refine a few St. King grade pills that formed pill clouds. Would you like to take a look, little boy? Zhong Ao spoke with a very proud and playful expression. Pill veins were hard to come by, but pill clouds were even rarer. Zhong Ao had collected tens of thousands of pills with pill veins so far, but he only had a handful that had formed pill clouds, each of which he regarded as a treasure. When he was feeling down, he would often take out these pill cloud pills to review, immediately lifting his spirits. He had lived here in this dull environment for nearly 100 years, and if it weren't for the great obsession in his heart, delving into the profound mysteries of the alchemic way, even with his great strength he would have gone stir-crazy. Now that he suddenly had the young alchemist Xianxia here to accompany him, he naturally wanted to show off a bit. Junior does not dare to covet Senior's treasures. Xianxia didn't give him a chance to show off though, which caused Zhong Ao to grumble in disappointment. Ignorant child, such a great opportunity is not something easy to grasp. It looks like your accomplishments in alchemy are bound to be limited. Pills which formed pill veins were a rarity in the world. In the alchemy world, this kind of thing, regardless of the grade, even if it was earth grade or mysterious grade, would be considered a treasure. Excellent alchemists, by observing and emulating, may be able to gain some insights from just observing them. Not to mention Zhong Ao's pills, which had formed pill cloud, were all Saint King grade pills. These few pills were the ultimate culmination of his past 100 years of work. Today he had taken the initiative to display them, yet was actually rejected by Xianxia. Zhong Ao immediately felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured on his hot face. His mood immediately dampening. How could he have known that back on Tongshan realm, Xianxia had already seen and even eaten a pill that formed pill clouds, and whether it was Xianxia himself or Xianxia, when performing alchemy, their odds of producing pill veins were higher than his own by several times. Senior, Junior has led you to the profound in sunflower water, and Senior has reaped great gains as a result. Isn't it time you inform this Junior how to rescue my young lady? Xianxia ignored Zhong Ao's ugly expression and took the initiative to bring up the previous transaction. Humph! Blinded by a beauty, Zhong Ao muttered in dissatisfaction again. He obviously thought Xianxia and Shuiyu had a deep sentiment between them, causing this boy to act so anxiously. Although he was a little displeased with Xianxia right now, a deal was a deal, and Zhong Ao kept his promise, flatly saying, "To save her, you just need to feed her a purple heart-soul restoring pill." After saying this, he shot Xianxia a mocking grin, clearly taking pleasure in his misfortune. Purple heart-soul restoring pill? Xianxia frowned, thinking quickly. While Zhong Ao had gone looking for someone to build a container to receive the profound in sunflower water, Xianxia had flipped through the pile of ancient books inside Zhong Ao's study and learned many pill recipes. The purple heart-soul restoring pill was one of them. Pondering for a moment, he soon remembered what grade of herbs was required to refine the purple heart-soul restoring pill. An origin king pill? Xianxia paled, calling out in alarm. Naturally, it is an origin king grade pill. Zhong Ao grinned. Profound in sunflower water is among the rarest and most powerful cultivation treasures. Do you think the damage caused by it would be easy to restore? Only the origin king grade purple heart-soul restoring pill can accomplish this. You should be more aware of the danger this little girl is facing than anyone else. Not only is her vitality frozen, even her soul avatar cannot form. Treating such a condition will be incredibly difficult, of course. Xianxia's face turned dark. Zhong Ao also said, "Boy, I advise you to give up. Let's not even discuss how few alchemists in the entire starfield can refine origin king pills. Simply finding the materials is not something you can accomplish. Finding a 10,000-year-old soul-returning flower alone is impossible." The soul-returning flower wasn't an incredibly rare or precious herbs, and could be found on any cultivation star. But in order to refine the purple heart-soul restoring pill, one with a medicinal age of 10,000 years was essential. Which herb could possibly grow that old? During thousands of years, natural disasters, shifts in environment, not to mention cultivators or monster beasts could cause any herb to die out or disappear from this world. Finding such an herb was simply impossible. The other precious herb required, despite being quite rare and valuable, wouldn't be too difficult to find. Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's primary focus was business, so as long he left it to Hali Ka, Xianxia believed these adjuvant herbs could be soon collected. But a 10,000-year-old soul-restoring flower instantly made Xianxia feel helpless. There is any number of women in this world. I see you're still very young, boy. In the future there will always be other outstanding women. Sometimes you should learn to just let things go. That itself is a kind of happiness. Zhong Ao sighed as he gave some heartfelt advice. I must rescue her. Yang Kai shook his head, his expression incomparably firm. Senior, is there no other way to resolve her crisis? Zhong Ao looked at him deeply, and his complexion gradually became dignified. After a while nodding, there is one other kind of pill that could treat her condition, and the materials required for this pill aren't difficult to find. Its grade is also not too high. Yang Kai's eyes brightened, cupping his fists and bowing deeply. Please enlighten me, Senior. Good. Out of consideration for your deep infatuation, this old master will offer you his knowledge once more. Zhong Ao sighed, but followed up calmly. However, I still advise you to not get your hopes up. Senior, please. The burning flame pill. Zhong Ao spat out a few words. Burning flame pill? Yang Kai frowned, thinking quickly, and after a moment, his eyes widened with surprise. Saint King grade low-rank burning flame pill? The burning flame pill is indeed a Saint King grade low-rank pill. Zhong Ao gently nodded. Yang Kai looked puzzled. Senior. Junior is a bit confused. The grade of the burning flame pill is not high, so how can it cure my young lady's condition? He really couldn't understand how the first method Zhong Ao gave him was to refine an Origin King pill, while the second method was actually to refine a Saint King grade pill. The difference between them was like clouds and mud. Zhong Ao grinned. Do you think an ordinary burning flame pill will do? What this old master refers to is a burning flame pill with pill clouds. Yang Kai trembled as he comprehended. Since you are also an alchemist, you should know that a pill that forms pill veins or pill clouds has its medicinal effects increased geometrically, which is why the existence of pill veins and pill clouds dramatically increases a pill's value. If a Saint King grade low-rank burning flame pill were to form pill veins, its medicinal effects would almost be equivalent to a Saint King grade high-rank pill. If it were to form pill clouds, even if it wasn't as good as an Origin King grade pill, it wouldn't miss by far. I see. Yang Kai's eyes shone brightly, and his spirit was instantly restored. Zhong Ao observed his expression, however, and sneered. How could it be so easy to refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds? It may be more difficult than trying to find a 10,000-year-old soul-restoring flower. This old master will repeat his words once more. Boy, it's best you give up now. Don't attempt to do the impossible. Him saying these words were not because he wanted to dampen Yang Kai's enthusiasm. It was just his objective evaluation of the situation. Even if the top alchemists in Hung Luo Starfield were to constantly refine burning flame pills, they wouldn't necessarily be able to refine one with pill clouds. Yang Kai, however, just grinned. How do I know it's impossible if I don't even try? Zhong Ao quickly stated. Boy, don't think this old master will help you refine such a burning flame pill. This old master has no friendship with you, nor does he have such skill to guarantee he can refine a Saint King grade pill with pill clouds. I did not plan on asking Senior to refine it. Yang Kai smiled slightly. Oh, you already have someone else in mind. Zhong Ao was slightly surprised. Do tell, who do you want to make refine it for you? Since this old master has given you his advice, he would like to see what person has such ability. Zhong Ao didn't think there was anyone whose alchemy skills were better than his own on Rainfall Star. When it came to alchemy, here he was the highest authority. Junior will do it himself. You plan to refine it yourself? Zhong Ao's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. Yang Kai gently nodded. As if he wanted to re-examine him, Zhong Ao swept his eyes over Yang Kai, asking with a strange expression a moment later. Don't try to play games with this old master. This is your own matter, not mine. And if you really can refine a burning flame pill which forms pill clouds here, this old master will call you grandfather. He clearly didn't believe that Yang Kai possessed this kind of ability. Yang Kai was just a weak second-order saint. Even if he was an alchemist and had some talent and aptitude in the alchemic way, the longest he could possibly have been immersed in this path was 20 years. Saint-grade high-rank pills were his limit. Zhong Ao concluded. If he couldn't even refine Saint King-grade pills, how was he supposed to refine one with pill clouds? Zhong Ao only took Yang Kai's words as the foolish boastings of youth. However, Yang Kai's eyes only brightened further as he too wore a strange smile. Senior, Since you don't believe this junior's words, how about we make a bet? A bet? Zhong Ao's eyes narrowed briefly before he snorted. What bet? Since you dare, this old master will play along. If this junior can refine a burning flame pill that forms pill clouds, junior won't ask for much. Just half of the profound in sunflower water senior managed to collect. Yang Kai stared at Zhong Ao daringly. Zhong Ao's face twitched severely as he snorted once again. Boy, this old master thought you were the honest and well-behaved type, but it seems you've been harbor ideas about this old master treasure all along. Aren't you afraid your appetite will cause you to lose your teeth? If Junior loses his teeth, that will be his own responsibility? Yang Kai slowly shook his head. Are you afraid you will lose? Zhong Ao grinned fearlessly. Don't try to taunt this old masters. Such petty tricks aren't worth my consideration. Even after saying so, a second later, Zhong Ao still nodded. Fine. If you can really refine a burning flame pill that forms pill clouds, why wouldn't this old master grant you half his profound in sunflower water? This old master has dedicated hundreds of years to studying the formation of pill veins, never once finding the correct path forward. If you have the ability to surpass this old master will be sincerely convinced. However, if you can't refine it, what are you willing to wager, boy? Zhong Ao directed an extremely cold and gloomy look towards Yang Kai as he asked. The entire gambling proposal Yang Kai made had annoyed Zhong Ao, making him feel that this junior was taking alchemy lightly while simultaneously looking down on his many years of research, causing a tinge of murderous intent to rise in his heart. I'll leave that up to Senior, Yang Kai said without any fear or hesitation. In any case, if he couldn't refine this pill, Shui would die, and when she died, he would follow. Good. This old master has been lacking an errand boy. If you fail, you'll serve this old master for the rest of your life. Zhong Ao chuckled. But this bet must have a deadline to it, or do you expect this old master to simply wait forever? Naturally not. Yang Kai seemed to have expected him to say that. The deadline will be when my young lady dies. How about it? That will be in just a year or so. Boy, you're certainly crazy enough. This old master is looking forward to seeing how you refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds. Zhong Ao laughed. Senior should sit back and watch. Yang Kai grinned, not showing any signs of fluster, only immense self-confidence. This expression was not missed by Zhong Ao, who suddenly couldn't help feeling a bit hesitant, secretly wondering whether this little brat's boldness was supported by some hidden secret. Not feeling relieved, he decided to ask, what grade of pill can refine with your current methods? Saint King grade low-rank pills. Yang Kai said casually. How is that possible? Zhong Ao was stunned. You can really refine Saint King grade pills? His face showed clear disbelief as he thought Yang Kai was simply exaggerating. Yang Kai just shrugged, however, and said, I've truly refined some. How old are you this year? Zhong Ao asked suspiciously. Less than 30, 27, or 8. I think? Yang Kai wasn't quite sure of his current age. He spent all of his time wandering outside or in secluded retreat, so he had long ago lost track of the passage of time. A 27 or 28-year-old boy able to refine St. King grade pills was enough to shock Zhong Ao speechless. A bad premonition suddenly came over him, as if half of his profound in sunflower water had suddenly changed surname. Shaking his head, Zhong Ao again said, After a year, things will become clear. This old master won't ask anything for now, but I still have to tell you, boy, even if you can refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds, it will only be able to drive away the chilling effects of the profound in sunflower water on this little girl. You'll still need to recomposing her soul avatar by yourself. Yang Kai frowned, and cupped his fist said, I understand. See yourself out. Zhong Ao waved. Yang Kai exited and went to the sleeping Yu Shui in the next room before leaving for the Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's branch. Half a day later, Yang Kai met with Holly Ka and the others inside the main hall. Holly Ka, Lin Mufeng, and the middle-aged woman were all gathered around a table and a container refined from 5-colored meteor essence, which held a few drops of profound in sunflower water, sat before them. 3 pairs of eyes stared fixedly towards this profound in sunflower water. 5-colored meteor essence wasn't difficult to find in Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's vaults, so after Zhong Ao left, the 3 executives had quickly gone to collect this treasure and were now discussing how to distribute them and what they should report to the home star. The 3 were a little bit overwhelmed by everything. Noticing Yang Kai's arrival, the 3 did try to cover up their discussion or hide the profound in sunflower water. Holly Ka simply stood up and asked, "How is the situation with Lady Shuer?" "Unchanged. Her life is safe for now, but she still remains unconscious." Yang Kai replied casually. The 3 faces turned dark. However, Senior Zhong Ao was able to diagnose her condition and prescribe a cure. Yang Kai quickly added, "Really?" Holly Ka's expression brightened as Lin Mufeng let out a sigh of relief, the middle-aged woman also patting her plump chest as the bitterness on her face noticeably decreased. "Little brother, if you require anything from our Chamber of Commerce, please speak freely. Lady Shuer's accident occurred on our rainfall star, so we will not spare any effort to assist you," Holly Ka stated up front. "That is why I have come here. I must ask for your help." Yang Kai smiled faintly. "I need you to help collect some herbs." Yang Kai got straight to the point. "What herbs do you need?" Holly Ka smiled. "Other places may not be able to procure special herbs, but my Chamber of Commerce is definitely not lacking such things." Lin Mufeng and the middle-aged woman also spoke similar words, pledging to meet whatever requirements Yang Kai had. Yang Kai immediately produced a list of herbs required to refine the burning flame pill, and after Holly Ka gave it a quick glance, he lightly said, "The herbs on this list are not difficult to find. We have most of them on hand in this branch already. Only the dragon turtle spirit fruit is relatively rare, while everything else won't be a problem. However, little brother will have to wait 3 to 5 months before we can transfer some dragon turtle spirit fruits from a nearby medicine star. Such a delay. There won't be a problem if it's just 3 to 5 months. Even a little longer won't matter as long as you don't drag it out for over a year." Yang Kai shook his head. "Good. Within 4 months we will definitely have the dragon turtle spirit fruits transferred here." Holly Ka thumped his chest and promised. Some herbs required specific environments to grow in, and although Rainfall Star was also a large cultivation star, it did not have the proper environment to cultivate dragon turtle spirit fruits. However, there was a medicine star under Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's jurisdiction nearby which produced a large number of them. "How many of these herbs does little brother need?" Lin Mufeng asked. "However many you can acquire," Yang Kai quickly said. "As much as we can acquire?" The 3 were startled by this answer and stared at Yang Kai in confusion. They had thought that Yang Kai would only require a few sets of ingredients to refine this pill, so when Yang Kai asked them to deliver him as many ingredients as possible, they were naturally somewhat suspicious. Yang Kai quickly explained, "The method Senior Zhong Ao prescribed requires a pill which has formed pill clouds. You should also be aware of how difficult it is to produce a pill with pill clouds. It's not something that can be done in a few attempts. Success will require much trial and error." After hearing these words, Holly Ka and the others suddenly understood why Yang Kai required so many herbs and no longer suspected anything. Holly Ka even shouting, I see, Grandmaster Zhong Ao is indeed worthy of his illustrious reputation in alchemy. He actually intends to refine a pill with pill clouds. Such a treasure is something we would greatly wish to experience. Unfortunately, this will likely result in a non-negligible loss for the branch's business, with so many of the same type of pill being refined all at once. Even if they were to be turned over to you for free, selling them may be an issue, Yang Kai reminded. As long as Lady Shuer can be awakened, such losses are not a problem, Holly Ka immediately stated. He was speaking earnestly, for if Lady Shuer were really to die, Shui Yu third young master would definitely not let him off. Even if he had to use his personal fortune, he would do everything in his power to procure the required herbs. That would be for the best. Yang Kai was very satisfied with their willingness to cooperate, saving him the trouble of trying to convince them to help him. These people were reasonable and easy to speak to. They were capable of seeing the bigger picture without it needing to be spelt out for them. Little brother? Holly Ka stuttered, a hesitant look appearing on his face. like he wanted to say something but didn't dare to, turning to glance at Lin Mufeng in an attempt to find some support. Yang Kai observed all of this carefully and immediately understood what they wanted to say, wearing a serious look as he said, "For me, treating Lady Xuer's condition is the foremost priority. I will not inquire about any other issues." Having received such a statement, all three of the branch executives were overjoyed and direct even kinder looks towards Yang Kai. Although the three of them had managed to obtain some profound sunflower water, a harvest worth celebrating, the events that had transpired here on Rainfall Star this time left them in a difficult position, not knowing how they should report to the home star. In normal times, they would be fully capable of suppressing news of Xueyu's injuries, but now was different. As Xueyu's guard, even if Yang Kai's cultivation was low, unless he was also brain-dead, how could he not make a report to the home star should something happen? When that happened, the three of them would only face even more severe punishment. With Yang Kai's words as a guarantee though, the three of them felt far more relieved. Yang Kai laughed and said, "I also don't want to be punished by the home star, so the matter of Lady Xuer being injured won't be leaked for the time being. When Lady Xuer recovers, she will decide how to proceed." "Many thanks, little brother." Hali Ka cupped his fists gratefully. "As for this profound sunflower water, for now don't make any arrangements for it. Lady Xuer will take responsibility for it," Yang Kai said again. "Naturally, even if we had 10 times the courage, we wouldn't dare try to use this cultivation treasures at will. We will wait for Lady Xuer to awake to deal with it." Hali Ka and others nodded repeatedly, thanking Yang Kai for showing them the correct path to take. Moreover, from the very beginning, none of them had any intention to use this profound sunflower water. Although refining this precious treasure would allow them to greatly improve their strength, none of them even knew how to go about it. Hali Ka had personally experienced the overbearing power of the profound sunflower water, the price for this knowledge being his arm. If they were to carelessly try to refine this treasure, rather than increasing their strength, they may end up in a similar condition to Lady Xuer. None of them daring to use it, however, didn't mean obtaining it wasn't a great merit. Hence why the three of them had been gathered around the container, discussing it before Yang Kai arrived. "Good. My requests up until now have been about our shared business, but I also have a private matter I wish to ask for your assistance with." Yang Kai felt that the time was right and the atmosphere had been set appropriate, so he prepared to fish for some advantages of his own. "Please speak, little brother. Do you have any methods to quickly improve one's strength?" Yang Kai looked at the three with anticipation. "Enhance one's strength?" Hali Ka was surprised, sweeping his eyes over Yang Kai, but soon understood and laughed. "Does little brother wants to improve his strength?" "Yes, this time, because my strength was too low. Lady Xuer did not allow me to accompany her to explore the ancient ruins. If my strength had been higher, perhaps I could have protected Lady Xuer during the profound sunflower water crisis. If I could exchange my life for Lady Xuer's safety, what would it matter if I were to die?" Yang Kai said while wearing a pained, bitter look, seemingly blaming himself deeply. Hali Ka and the others in the hall were all experienced masters though, so how could they not know he was just putting on a show? However, there did seem that Lady Xuer thought highly of this little guard. Otherwise, she would not have brought him alone to Rainfall Star with her, or out of concern for his safety prevent him from entering the ancient ruins. After Lady Xuer woke up, perhaps they would need to rely on him to say a few words of praise to disperse her anger. What's more, he was willing to not report this matter to the home star and even cooperate with them to conceal the truth for now. Regardless of whether it was to curry favor or to repay him, the three executives felt that as long as Yang Kai's requests weren't excessive they should try to meet them, and helping a small second-order Saint Realm cultivator improve his strength was something they could easily accomplish. After exchanging a few silence glances, the three executives immediately made a decision, with Hali Ka saying, "If you wish to quickly improve your strength, the only proper method is to cultivate diligently. This kind of thing cannot be rushed. Everyone develops their strength one drop at a time." However, arriving at this point, he grinned and said, "I have a method that will allow you to increase the efficiency of your cultivation." Yang Kai's eyes brightened. "What method?" The space ring on Hali Ka's hand flashed, and a colorful, orchid-like object appeared in his hands. This orchid was quite strange though, its blossoming petals appearing somewhat like a baby's face, with rather clear yet gloomy features. Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid? Nearby, Lin Mufeng and the middle-aged woman both simultaneously exclaimed in shock, as if they hadn't expected Holly Ka to bring out such a treasure, directing a somewhat thought-provoking expression towards Yang Kai, seemingly feeling like he had struck it lucky. "What is the use of this thing?" Yang Kai asked. Holly Ka proudly explained, "It is an auxiliary cultivation treasure. If you take it directly, you will realize its use." Lin Mufeng also added, "This kind of thing is very rare. Many years ago, in order to obtain it, Old Ha had a bloody fight with many others. I never expected that he had stored it away for nearly 100 years. I had thought he had already made use of it." Holly Ka grinned. "There was no suitable candidate, so how was I supposed to use it? This old master is already a third-order origin returning realm master. This thing can't help improve my own strength, so I was thinking of saving it for someone from the younger generation, but on this vast rainfall star, no one has been able to enter this old master's eye so far." Yang Kai's eyes lit up, and before Holly Ka had even finished speaking, he had accepted the Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid and shoved it into his space ring. From the conversation between the two, Yang Kai could already understand the preciousness of this Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid. He then turned to stare at Lin Mufeng eagerly. Lin Mufeng was just extolling Holly Ka's generosity, but when his eyes met with Yang Kai's, he couldn't help his face from twitching slightly, scratching his head in a slightly frustrated manner as he said, "This Lin has something here that may be of help to little brother Yang." Yang Kai's meaning was incredibly obvious. He clearly wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to rob all of them. So how could Lin Mufeng feign ignorance? Suppressing the grief he felt in his heart while wearing a calm and aloof expression, Lin Mufeng took out a jade bottle from his space ring, and before he could even explain what it was, Yang Kai had snatched it from him. Lin Mufeng smiled bitterly and said helplessly, "This is Snow Pond Crystal Essence, a unique treasure from Ice Snow Star's Snow Pond Forbidden Zone. Only a cut worth of it is condensed every millennium. This is all I have." "What is its use?" Yang Kai asked concisely while observing the jade bottle in his hand, feeling a slight coolness coming from it. Through the bottle's walls, he could see about a fingernail-sized drop of white liquid. "Snow Pond Crystal Essence is most useful for stabilizing your state of mind. Taking one drop will grant great benefits. Little brother Yang, since you want to quickly improve your strength, this thing will be essential," Lin Mufeng explained. Yang Kai's eyes brightened as he grinned. This treasure was given to him by Lin Mufeng, and Holly Ka's Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid perfectly complemented one another. One could improve the efficiency of one's cultivation, while the other could help stabilize their state of mind, thus avoiding the side effects caused by rapid increases in strength. Could be said that this Snow Pond Crystal Essence was equal in value to the Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid. Yang Kai was very satisfied as he stuffed it into his space ring. Watching Yang Kai put away that small bottle of Snow Pond Crystal Essence, a clear look of pain appeared on Lin Mufeng's face. Of course, Yang Kai pretended not to see it. Before waiting for Yang Kai to speak again, the middle-aged woman smiled and took the initiative. "I don't have as many treasures as these two, but I do have something that can help promote your cultivation speed." Saying so, she summoned a number of small flag-like objects into her hand. Each of these 7 flags was a different color of the rainbow and exuded a strong aura. An artifact! Yang Kai was slightly surprised, not knowing what function this artifact possessed that could actually improve one's cultivation efficiency. These 7 colored spirit-gathering flags together form one origin-grade low-rank artifact, and when arranged in a certain configuration can gather the surrounding world energy. I used to use this whenever I entered secluded cultivation, but after reaching my current level of strength, its effects have become negligible and I have not taken it out for nearly 100 years now. However, it should be quite suitable for little brother Yang. Yang Kai's eyes brightened once more, secretly thinking to himself that these 3 were worthy of their status as executives of a Hong Luo Chamber of Commerce branch. Each of them was easily able to take out treasures that would ordinarily be impossible to find. This time Yang Kai didn't act as hurriedly as with the previous 2, carefully accepting the 7-colored spirit-gathering flag from the middle-aged beauty before thanking her politely. In response, The middle-aged woman laughed lightly and said, "Lower your knowledge sees defenses. I'll teach you the method to arrange it." Xianxia nodded, allowed the middle-aged woman to place her jade finger on his forehead, and accepted her instructions on how to set up the 7-colored spirit gathering flags. After carefully digesting this information, Xianxia was very satisfied with the 7-colored spirit gathering flags. Although it was only an origin-grade low-rank artifact, it was still a good treasure that perfectly suited the current Xianxia. He could use it for some time to come, and when he no longer needed it, it could be given to others close to him. It wasn't as rare or valuable as the Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid or Snow Pond Crystal Essence, but it was actually far more practical than them. No matter which of these three it was, they had bled quite substantially here in taking these things out. So Xianxia cupped his fists and said, "Many thanks for your assistance, Junior is very grateful. Little brother is too polite." Halika laughed. "As long as Lady Schwer can be awoken, what does this little loss count for?" Whether his loyal and righteous appearance was real or forced, Xianxia couldn't tell. "And does little brother wish to take a couple of moon slaves as well?" Lin Mufeng suddenly remembered something and proposed. "Moon slaves?" Xianxia's brow rose and stared at them suspiciously. The middle-aged woman immediately blushed and shouted, "You bastard! Little brother is so young, yet you wish to lead him down such an unsavory path? How do you plan to explain things when Lady Schwer wakes up?" Lin Mufeng squirmed awkwardly. "Two moon slaves shouldn't be an issue, right? Little brother Yang seems like an upright and firm-willed young man. He shouldn't be led astray simply because of 2 trivial moon slaves. And if it's just 2, there really shouldn't be a problem." Halika also echoed. "What are moon slaves?" Xianxia saw the 3 executives suddenly engage in a slightly heated debate and couldn't help feeling curious. Halika lightly coughed and explained, "Moon slaves are women specially cultivated by our Chamber of Commerce. They cultivate a very special secret art and take tailored pills so that their primordial yin contains a large amount of very pure energy. Any man who is then able to obtain their primordial yin can obtain great benefits from it. If little brother wishes to rapidly improve his strength, moon slaves are truly the best choice." Gathering yin to supplement yang. Xianxia's complexion changed slightly. "No, no, no." Lin Mufeng smiled and waved. "The method developed by my Chamber of Commerce is not some barbaric gathering yin to supplement yang. Little brother should know that many cultivators who cultivate demonic secret arts that use gathering yin to supplement yang are able to raise their strength quickly but always result in unstable foundations, making their combat efficiency far lower than others in the same realm. My Chamber of Commerce would never engage in such flawed practices. Moon slaves are chosen from only those women with appropriate aptitudes and physiques then cultivated in a specific method which increased the concentration of energy in their primordial yin. This way, the men who obtain such primordial yin suffer very little ill effect. With little brother's current cultivation, obtaining 2 moon slaves won't cause any side effects. Indeed, if there was really a problem with my Chamber of Commerce's moon slaves, there would not be so many people who purchase them." Halika also nodded. "Do you also engage in human trafficking?" Xianxia was incredibly shocked, never having expected a giant like Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce would actually have a hand in such a shady industry. This business is only conducted by mutual consent. Moon slaves generally come from commoner or impoverished backgrounds who, without my Chamber of Commerce's support, would only be able to live a few dozen years before dying of disease or old age. My Chamber of Commerce provides them with the opportunity to cultivate as well as a secure environment, allowing them to obtain superior ability and skill. Also, after moon slaves give their innocence to their masters, they will always obtain some benefit in return. Not only can they continue to cultivate and enhance their strength, but many moon slaves also live quite comfortable lives after leaving the Chamber of Commerce. Lin Mufeng explained in detail, seeing that Xianxia was a bit repulsed by such things. The middle-aged woman sat to the side, blushing, but not raising any objections. Obviously, she too was well informed about these moon slaves. Moon slaves? Xianxia hesitated for a moment before waving his hand and saying bitterly, "After she wakes up, once she learns of this, I'm afraid Lady Schwer would kill." Yang Kai had to admit that after listening to them talk about the benefits of moon slaves, especially the ability to quickly improve his strength, Yang Kai was a bit tempted. Right now, his strongest desire was to quickly enhance his cultivation. However, after mulling over this decision, Yang Kai still refused. Part of it had to do with his principles, but a larger part had to do with his concerns. No matter how Holly Ka and the others boasted about the benefits of moon slaves, Yang Kai always felt that gathering Yin to supplement Yang would leave hidden problems which would hinder his future cultivation. Since that's the case, we won't press the matter, Holly Ka said while shooting Yang Kai an approving nod. He hadn't thought a young man like him could refuse such a great temptation. Moon slaves were capable of more than simply improving one's strength. Each of them was also a rare beauty who had been taught many ways to serve and please men while being proficient in countless forms of art and entertainment. They were akin to a status symbol for the young men in the star field to brag about. Being accompanied by one or two moon slaves was enough to raise the level of one's face significantly. Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce cultivated a large number of moon slaves every year, but the backlog for their purchase was several years long. Moon slaves alone brought in a huge amount of profit, even considering the entire scope of Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce. The price of moon slaves only ever increased, but that did not dampen the enthusiasm of those who wished to buy them. Yang Kai's refusal had surprised all three of these executives and increased their opinion of him further, making them believe that Lady Xuer had many reasons to select him as her guard. Holly Ka and others discussed some technical matters for a moment before agreeing to send the collected materials to Zhong Ao's palace once they were prepared, after which Yang Kai took his leave. After returning to Zhong Ao's palace, Yang Kai was filled with energy and was in exceptionally high spirits. Oh, a heavenly spirit ghost orchid, snow pond crystal essence? Zhong Ao looked at these two things Yang Kai had taken out and commented. Holly Ka and Lin Mufeng really held nothing back. It seems this little girl has even higher status in Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce than I initially believed. Aged ginger being spicier than young ginger. Zhong Ao naturally recognized these treasures and their uses at a glance. Taking a look next at the 7 colored flags next, Zhong Ao couldn't help chuckling. Boy, with these things, this old master estimates you can break through to the Third Order Saint Realm in short order. Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce is worthy of its title as a great force. Allowing someone to rise up quickly is a simple task for them. Old Zhong, in a few days, Holly Ka will be sending some materials over required to refine the burning flame pill. I hope Old Zhong can receive them for me, Yang Kai said, while taking the 7 colored spirit gathering flags back from Zhong Ao. As long as they don't disturb this old master's alchemy, it matters not. Zhong Ao snorted, squatting in front of Yang Kai and directing a suspicious look towards him. But there's something here this old master doesn't understand. Care you explain? Old Zhong, please ask. Aren't you going to refine a pill to treat your woman? Why did you suddenly bring these things back with you for? What else can you do with these things? Naturally, I'm going to cultivate. Yang Kai grinned. Zhong Ao was stunned. Aren't you getting your priorities backwards? You only have a year and a half at most. Wanting to refine a burning flame pill that forms pill clouds within 1.5 years doesn't leave you any time to spare. Yet you're actually in the mood to cultivate. Ordinary people will sharpen their knife before butchering pigs. What's wrong with me cultivating now to sharpen myself? Yang Kai grinned. On top of that, according to Holly Ka, one of the materials required for the burning flame pill will take 4 months to transfer here from a nearby medicine star. Besides cultivating, what else am I supposed to do while I wait? I suppose that makes sense. But will it even make a difference if you break through to the Third Order Saint Realm? Zhong Ao wondered why Yang Kai wasn't feeling more flustered. Perhaps advancing a minor realm will allow me to successfully refine pill clouds. Yang Kai smiled lightly. Zhong Ao just stared at Yang Kai as if he was looking at an idiot, stood up tall again and waved his hand. If you say so. This old master will just wait to see the results. As long as you don't bother this old master, you can do as you like. This old master will go see to his own alchemy. Saying so, he walked out, constantly muttering about how refining pills was difficult. Yang Kai didn't pay him any mind and instead began arranging his newly acquired treasures. Back on the floating continent, He had worked hard to refine St. King grade pills in order to lift the seal Lu Guichun had planted on him. At that time, Yang Kai discovered that he was unable to further promote his alchemy techniques because of the constraints of his own cultivation. His cultivation was too low, and if he wanted to refine higher grades of pills, he first needed to improve in that aspect. The 4 months Halika needed to acquire the dragon turtle spirit fruits gave Yang Kai a very good buffer period. With the heavenly spirit ghost orchid, snow pond crystal essence, and 7-colored spirit gathering flags, Yang Kai planned to promote his cultivation during this time. With 4 months, Yang Kai had great confidence he would be able to break through to the Third Order Saint Realm, allowing him to more easily refine the required burning flame pill. Inside one of the rooms in Zhong Ao's palace, Yang Kai sat cross-legged. Taking out the heavenly spirit ghost orchid, Yang Kai swallowed it without hesitation. A cool sensation ran straight from the throat to his abdomen, and as he began to refine the medicinal effects, which cool sensation rapidly spread out to every part of his body, dilating his pores and rapidly affecting his physique. In order to refine a burning flame pill that formed pill clouds, and in order to rapidly improve his cultivation realm, Yang Kai spared no effort. Moreover, he no longer regarded this time's incident as a disaster but instead an opportunity. Currently, he was all alone in the star field, without any friends or family, no one to rely on. Only by increasing his own strength would he be able to survive. Shui Yu falling unconscious and not awakening gave him the opportunity to concentrate on cultivation. When viewed from another angle, misdemeanors could often become advantages. Yang Kai could safely use these next few months to break through, then afterwards improve his alchemy skills to complement his cultivation realm and achieve greater growth. The cool sensation made him tremble but also more clear-headed than ever before. He suddenly felt as if he had a good plan for the foreseeable future, causing his heart to pound harder. Shui Yu's uniform breathing came from the next room over. Zhong Ao's methods could only maintain her vitality for at most a year and a half. Once that time was up, she would die if there was no appropriate pill to treat her. However, Yang Kai wasn't as worried at all about this right now, his mind in a state of pure tranquility. The heavenly spirit ghost orchid's medicinal effects continued to permeate through Yang Kai's body. Halika hadn't clearly explained how this precious treasure would improve the efficiency of his cultivation, but Yang Kai could clearly feel some changes occurring in his physique. Suddenly, the coolness which had flooded his whole body began to gather towards Yang Kai's chest, and the medicinal efficacies of the heavenly spirit ghost orchid were rapidly consumed. Suspicious, Yang Kai removed his shirt, exposing his sturdy body, and looked down towards his chest. The golden dragon tattoo, the dragon emperor's inheritance, quickly swam across his skin. The golden dragon tattoo moved deftly, just like a living creature, sometimes swimming in front of him, sometimes swimming behind him, while the ice phoenix tattoo remained on his back, never moving. The Phoenix Empress inheritance, which belonged to Su Yen, was simply using Yang Kai's body as a temporary residence, waiting for him to hand it over to her. At this moment, there was a faint trace of black qi gathering on his chest, like some kind of ghost or demon. Yang Kai inspected this black qi carefully, but not discovering anything out of the ordinary, he decided to quietly wait and observe. After a while, the black qi on his chest condensed and began to take on a vague pattern. Yang Kai stared closely, but did not understand what was happening. Only after waiting half a day did the chilly feeling in his chest suddenly disappeared, and at the same time the blurry pattern quickly became clear. It was actually a baby's face with clear features, as if Yang Kai now had an extra head in his chest, a disturbing and terrifying sight to behold. Yang Kai was stunned, never having imagined that such a situation would happen after he took the heavenly spirit ghost orchid. To his further amazement, though, the mouth of this baby face suddenly opened and then, like a great vortex, began madly drawing in the surrounding world energy. Hu Chi Chi. A great gust of wind blew through the room at that moment, and an unimaginable amount of world energy poured into Yang Kai's body as the baby's mouth continued sucking it in. Suddenly, Yang Kai felt his mind and body relax as a sense of replenishment filled him. His meridians pulsed, accepting this vast stream of world energy and transforming it into his own capital under the circulation of his secret art. So mysterious. Yang Kai was overjoyed, closing his eyes tightly while feeling the benefits of the heavenly spirit ghost orchid. Although the design of this heavenly spirit ghost orchid on his chest looked eerie, its effects were truly spectacular. In this way, even if Yang Kai didn't actively circulate his secret art, under the suction of the heavenly spirit ghost orchid, he could continuously draw in the surrounding world energy, improving the speed and efficiency of his cultivation greatly. The baby face's breathing cycle lasted about 30 breaths of time, actively inhaling for that period before resting for an equal amount of time, each cycle bringing in an astonishing amount of world energy for Yang Kai. Halika's gift was truly a heaven sent for Yang Kai. Yang Kai often spent most of his time traveling, and while moving from one place to another, he rarely had the opportunity to cultivate. If this heavenly spirit ghost orchid's effects could continue on indefinitely, it would be difficult for Yang Kai's strength to not improve. In the future, he could maintain a state of cultivation when traveling or even during battle. Unfortunately, according to Halika, this heavenly spirit ghost orchid's effects would gradually diminish as time passes, disappearing entirely after 2 or 3 years. Additionally, this treasure was extremely difficult to find. Occasionally 1 or 2 plants were discovered, but as soon as they would be snatched up. In order to obtain this treasure, Halika had fought a long bloody battle with many other masters. However, 2 or 3 years was enough for Yang Kai. After taking the heavenly spirit ghost orchid, Yang Kai next brought out the snow pond crystal essence and placed a drop into his mouth. A new and different cool sensation filled his body. The snow pond crystal essence was a product from the snow pond forbidden zone. Naturally, its primary attribute was cold. Yang Kai's spirit shook and he couldn't help feeling a cleansing sensation wash over him, as if his very soul was being purified. A peculiar power rippled from Yang Kai's mouth, flowing into his abdomen, then vaporizing and rising like a cloud of smoke towards his knowledge sea. Yang Kai's knowledge sea, which was originally somewhat turbulent because of his excitement and joy, immediately settled down, all ripples disappearing in an instant. Yang Kai's soul seemed to undergo an instantaneous sublimation, his mood becoming as tranquil like an ancient well. As the snow pond crystal essence's medicinal properties took effect, Yang Kai suddenly developed a wondrous feeling, as if he had become detached from his own body and become an outside observer. All the memories contained inside his knowledge sea became scenes flashed before his eyes. In this way, Yang Kai was able to review all the roads he had traveled throughout his life, as well as the people he met and the events he had experienced. His setbacks and achievements, happiness and frustration all put on display. It was as if he traversed his 30-year life all over again. Yang Kai saw many details he had previously ignored, as well as the many regrets he had accumulated, allowing his mood to change subtly. He became more mature and more experienced. As his state of mind changed, Yang Kai's knowledge sea also underwent some unusual changes. The level of seawater gradually rose, which was a sign of his spiritual energy increasing, and the color of the seawater become deeper and thicker. The intensity of his soul was becoming stronger at a visible rate. Atop the 6-colored island which sat at the center of his knowledge sea, the 6-colored light became even more lustrous and dazzling. Even the soul-devouring insects, who had been living on this island, began to buzz with joy, rapidly swallowing the 6-colored light which the soul-warming lotus emitted. Soon, the number of soul-devouring insects reached a critical limit, and they began to attack their nearby companions, eliminating the weaker existences, allowing the swarm as a whole to become more powerful. Yang Kai was aware of all these changes, but instead of trying to stop it, he simply observed it with indifference. The soul-devouring insects used to be one of his sharpest weapons, able to cause trouble for Saint Realm cultivators and easily kill those below the Transcendent Realm. However, after arriving in the star field, the soul-devouring insects were no longer of much use. In the star field, there were an endless number of cultivators, and Saint King Realm cultivators were common. The current soul-devouring insects posed no threat to these masters. Yang Kai was looking forward to how these tiny exotic ancient insects, which only fed upon spiritual energy, would evolve after this time and whether they would become useful again. He desperately needed more strength. The battle between the soul-devouring insects was incredibly fierce, as each tiny insect battled to devour its neighbors, allowing on the most elite to survive. These few survivors, though, were far stronger than before. Finally, the battle atop the six-colored island came to an end, and the number of soul-devouring insects had dropped by several thousand times. The few remaining insects then fell into a type of deep sleep. Sweeping them with his divine sense, Xianxia discovered that each individual had wrapped itself in a cocoon-like shell, with only faint traces of life pulsing inside. Xianxia stopped paying attention to them after determining there was no issue. Taking back his consciousness, Xianxia left the palace and took out the 7-colored spirit-gathering flags, followed the method given to him by the middle-aged beauty, poured his strength into the flags, and threw them out. The 7 small flags suddenly became much larger and arranged themselves into a peculiar pattern around Xianxia, each one waving in the wind. There was some kind of imperceptible connected between these 7 flags, transforming the 7-colored spirit-gathering flags into a spirit array. The wind blew and the trees in the distance began to sway as a large amount of world energy began being pulled towards the location of the 7 flags. Even the sky up above underwent some changes. Xianxia sat down cross-legged, took out a few cultivation pills, stuffed them into his mouth, held a good piece of Saint Crystal in his hand. Inside the palace, Zhong-Ao, who was performing his frenzied alchemy as usual, noticed something going on outside, stopped his hands for a moment, and released his divine sense, soon understanding what was happening. "There's no justice in this world," he couldn't help muttering. "Why, when this old master was young and weak, did no one provide me with such good cultivation environment? How unreasonable." He felt a little jealous. Heavenly Spirit Ghost Orchid, Snow Pond Crystal Essence, 7-colored Spirit Gathering Flag. What's more, his 3,000-kilometer territory had many spirit arrays already set up to gather the surrounding world energy. All kinds of effects concentrated in one spot would help the cultivation speed of the little brat outside to increase by several folds. The speed at which Xianxia would be able to gathering world energy through all these means would be comparable to that of an origin-returning realm master in secluded cultivation. Zhong-Ao estimated that in just a few months, Xianxia would be able to break through and rise another minor realm. Of course, only if this little brat's body was able to eat up this extravagant feast. Such a rich world energy aura was not something a little Saint Realm cultivator could absorb, and if the gathering rate of this aura was too fast for him to digest and accept, it would only cause a huge burden on Xianxia's body, bursting his meridians and damaging his foundation. If that were to happen, instead of helping him, all of these blessings would instead harm his progress. Zhong-Ao's concerns weren't unwarranted. Even if a great force wanted to train their young disciples, they would carefully control the maximum amount of load placed on them, otherwise it would only hinder their development rather than help it. And currently, Xianxia was clearly trying to take on far more than what an ordinary cultivator in his realm would be capable of. Even if he was a first or second order Saint King, absorbing such thick world energy was not possible. Xianxia dying was no concern of Zhong-Ao's. The old man only cared about the boastful bet this young boy had made with him about refining a burning flame pill with pill clouds. Even if Zhong-Ao was absolutely certain this was impossible, for some reason he couldn't help holding out a faint hope that Xianxia really could make him suffer a convincing loss. The production of pill veins had been his lifelong pursuit. For this he had given up lofty status and immense wealth, secluding himself in alchemy here in this place for 100 years just to find hope of a more reliable method to produce the elusive pill veins and pill clouds. So despite how small this hope was, and even if this boy was just ranting wildly, Zhong-Ao wanted to see it through to the end. Thus he didn't want Xianxia to have any accidents. If Xianxia were to die, all his worries would have been wasted. For 1 month after Xianxia set up the 7-colored spirit gathering flags and started cultivating, Zhong-Ao did not perform any alchemy, instead just observing him silently from inside his palace. But to Zhong-Ao's astonishment, this little brat's physique and vitality were incomprehensibly stronger than he had anticipated, and the massive amount of world energy that could easily cause a Saint King realm cultivator's body to explode was actually easily accepted by Xianxia. All of this occurred without any signs of discomfort or distress. Day by day, Zhong Ao simply saw how the energy fluctuations coming from Yang Kai grew noticeably stronger. Not only did this little boy's face not show the slightest bit of tension, it was instead filled with comfort and joy, making Zhong Ao unable to believe his eyes. As time passed, a pale light halo appeared around Yang Kai's body. At first this halo wasn't very obvious, but as more and more aura was injected into it, it became brighter and more vibrant. The thick world energy in the surrounding area began to condense into a kind of fog that lingered around him. Zhong Ao's extensive medicine garden was soon submerged in a faint layer of mist, and the herbs that were planted began to grow even faster than before. With such rich world energy for them to absorb, it would actually be stranger if these herbs didn't gain some benefits. For a time, this mountain valley became the place with the densest world energy aura on all of Rainfall Star. Even the great palaces in the mountain range where the Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce branch was located couldn't compare. Changing the flow of the world's world energy to create a rare cultivation paradise with one's own strength. Despite his long life, Zhong Ao had never encountered such a strange phenomenon. Just who is this boy? Zhong Ao was puzzled and slowly shook his head, knowing his previous worries were completely unnecessary. After 1 month of observation, he didn't bother himself with Yang Kai anymore, returning his attention to his pill room where he fired up his several dozen pill furnaces again and began his own alchemy. He finally understood that Yang Kai's was nothing short of a monster, and it was impossible for this level of cultivation to cause him any trouble. Zhong Ao clearly saw that Yang Kai was constantly throwing auxiliary cultivation pills into his mouth, while exchanging high-rank Saint crystals in his hands. No matter how low his current strength was, Zhong Ao concluded that, in the future, this boy would surely become a bright star in the star field. At the same time they were scheduled to deliver herbs to Zhong Ao, Lin Mufeng personally brought along a few special space rings. Inside these space rings were all the herbs that Yang Kai had requested in order to save Shuiyu, who remained in a coma. Lin Mufeng and the other executives had used their private fortunes in order to collect these herbs, as the situation could not be reported to Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's headquarters. After purchasing these various herbs, the personal property of the 3 executives had almost been halved. Zhong Ao accepted the space ring and closed the doors of the palace without even inviting Lin Mufeng inside to sit for a while. Lin Mufeng didn't dare make any complaints, simply standing outside with an awkward look upon his face. His attention soon attracted to the incredibly thick world energy aura that pervaded the surrounding medicine gardens, his eyes brightening when they landed on a certain spot. Through the world energy fog, he surprisingly discovered Yang Kai's figure. Which Saint Realm cultivator could engage in such crazy cultivation? Looking at Yang Kai's posture, it was clear he had been cultivating like this for quite some time, yet he showed no signs of distress. Regardless of anything else, it was apparent that this boy's physique was extraordinary. After watching for a while, Lin Mufeng quietly left without disturbing Yang Kai. The days passed by as Yang Kai sat in the medicine garden, the baby's face on his chest, which had appeared after he consumed the heavenly spirit ghost orchid, greedily devouring world energy as the 7-colored spirit gathering flag drew more of it in. The role of the snow pond crystal essence had also continued until this day, not weakening in the slightest and always allowing Yang Kai to maintain a tranquil mental state without any fluctuations. Yang Kai was still taking supplementary pills one after another, and the remains of a few hundred pieces of high-rank Saint crystal were piled up beside him. There had never been a time when Yang Kai had entered such an intense period of cultivation. His second-order Saint Realm cultivation rapidly rose as the amount of power inside his body grew larger and larger, gradually touching the threshold of the third-order Saint Realm. One day, a dark demonic flame suddenly emerged from his body, swelling up rapidly, as if it wished to burn down the entire world. Inside the palace, Zhong Ao's expression was solemn as he observed the changes in Yang Kai from far away. The demonic flames grew in size and intensity, gradually bursting out from Yang Kai's body as if they had a life of their own, condensing into the form of a dragon. At the same time, the golden dragon tattoo swam faster and faster across the surface of Yang Kai's body. A loud dragon roar rang out as the golden dragon leapt out from Yang Kai's body and merged with the mass of demonic flame. The jet black dragon, which from time to time emitted a golden halo, soared into the sky and swam through the clouds. The dragon opened its mouth wide and swallowed massive amounts of world energy. With each mouthful, the dense mist shrouding the mountain valley became thinner, and after a dozen breaths the scenery had been restored to its original state, all the excess world energy having been absorbed and assimilated by the black dragon. Another great dragon roar echoed and the flaming dragon dived down, rushing straight into Yang Kai's body. Yang Kai shuddered and an invisible wave of energy centered on him suddenly spread out, kicking up a storm that flung rocks and even trees nearby him into the distance. Slowly, Yang Kai opened his eyes, a profound light flashing within their depths, as the light halo which had been surrounding his body quickly converging and soon disappearing altogether. Third Order Saint Realm. After this intense round of cultivation, Yang Kai had finally stepped into the Third Order Saint Realm. Back on Tongxian Realm, this level of cultivation would already make him a peak existence, whether it was Demon Commander Zhang Yuan, his 4 demon general subordinates, Meng Wuya, Chu Ling Xiao, Thunder Dragon, or Old Ox, all of them were Third Order Saints. Having reached such a realm, there were only slight gaps between each of them. Today, Yang Kai had finally reached the same height as these masters. However, in the star field, such cultivation was nothing worth speaking of, not even enough to hire oneself to a great force. The number of cultivators with such cultivations in the star field was the same as the number of hairs on an ox, and although they weren't the lowest and weakest existences, they also didn't possess any special status. Boy, congratulations, Zhong Ao strode over. Being able to break through to the Third Order Saint Realm in only 3 months, although you heavily relied on powerful treasures to do so, it is still an accomplishment that greatly surprised this old master. I had originally thought it would take you at least 5 or 6 months to reach this point. Seems your natural aptitude is quite outstanding. Many thanks, old Zhong. Yang Kai didn't get up, simply nodding lightly, not showing much excitement or emotion of any kind, as if everything was as it should be. Zhong Ao was surprised as he realized that Yang Kai's state of mind did not develop any flaws as a result of his rapid increase in strength. The snow pond crystal essence had performed its function perfectly. Old Zhong, is there any word from Hali Ka? Yang Kai asked. Lin Mu Feng sent a few rings of herbs over a while ago, but the dragon turtle spirit fruits are still missing. He said that Hali Ka had already had them transferred from the nearby medicine star, and it would only be a month or 2 before they arrived, Zhong Ao said indifferently. Yang Kai nodded gently, although he did not have a deep relationship with Hali Ka and the other executives. He also knew that they did not dare act perfunctorily with regards to this matter. The arrival of the dragon turtle spirit fruits was only a matter of time. I'll go and check up on my young lady, Yang Kai said, standing up without even putting away the 7-colored spirit gathering flag. Inside the room, Shuiyu was still sleeping peacefully, but perhaps because no one had come to attend to her for a long time, a layer of fine dust had covered her enchanting face. Yang Kai found some clean water and washed it off for her. Perhaps because of the influence of the snow pond crystal essence, Yang Kai was able to remain indifferent as he performed this action, as if he was treating a stranger. He had already decided that if he could rescue Shuiyu this time, he would immediately sever their relationship. Regardless of whether she would seek to exact revenge upon him, Yang Kai didn't want to have anything to do with her. His intimacy towards Shuiyu was forced, unlike with Su Yan and Xianing Chong. He believed that Shuiyu was the same. With this woman's demeanor and temperament, once she was freed from the restraints of the soul chains, she would likely try to immediately kill him in order to safeguard her many secrets. Regardless of what reason it was for, she could not allow Yang Kai to continue living in this world. The two of them were destined to be enemies after this brief ceasefire. After he finished tidying up, Yang Kai went back outside the palace again, sat back down in his previous position, and continued to circulate his secret art. He had just broken through to the Third Order Saint Realm, and even if the snow pond crystal essence was able to maintain his mental state, allowing him to not worry about flaws in his state of mind, Yang Kai still had to consolidate his foundation as quickly as possible and stride towards the next great realm. He didn't have high expectations, knowing that within a few years, he would have no chance of breaking through to the Saint King realm. Yang Kai only hoped to advance his cultivation as far as possible so as not to waste the limited time the heavenly spirit ghost orchids effects would last. Half a month later, the dragon turtle spirit fruits were delivered by Holly Ka as scheduled. After handing them over to Zhong Ao, Holly Ka only took a glance over at Yang Kai in the distance before quickly departing. They had done everything they promised. Now whether Lady Xuer could be awoken safely had nothing to do with them. They could only wait and pray that Zhong Ao really had the ability to refine pill clouds. They didn't know that it was Yang Kai who would be performing this alchemy, and Zhong Ao didn't bother to explain it to them. Time passed by, and another month later, Yang Kai slowly got up, put away the 7-colored spirit-gathering flags, and reluctantly walked back to Zhong Ao's palace. The cultivation environment he had enjoyed these past few months was no worse than the one on the floating continent, and his current third-order Saint Realm cultivation had been completely consolidated. Now all he needed was a steady accumulation over time, and he could attempt to break through to the Saint King realm. Yang Kai didn't know if he would be able to obtain such a good opportunity in the future, so he was naturally reluctant to interrupt his cultivation. But with his life on the line, he had no choice. Zhong Ao seemed to be waiting for him to show his hand, and after Yang Kai entered the palace, the old man tossed over a few space rings with a smile on his face and said, "The herbs for the burning flame pill are all here." Holly Ka and his bunch really went all out to prepare 2,000 sets of materials, all of them Saint King grade. Now, this old master is eager to see how you can refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds. Senior, don't forget about our bet. Yang Kai glanced at him lightly, his voice completely calm. Good. This old master always means what he says. Zhong Ao coldly snorted. Are you ready to prepare to spend your life as this old master's errand boy? He was still reluctant to believe that Yang Kai could do what he had said. Wait and see. Yang Kai grinned before putting away the space rings and walking inside. Xueyu was still the same, breathing smoothly, her vitality strong, so there would be no problem for the time being. But since Zhong Ao said that in her current state, she could only live for at most a year and a half, Yang Kai knew this wouldn't last forever. Calculating the current time, she only had about a year left. Yang Kai wasn't anxious though. His life now depended on refining an appropriate burning flame pill, which meant he had to succeed no matter what. Old Zhong, I'll need to borrow your pill room, Yang Kai said as he walked into Zhong Ao's usual alchemy space. As long as you can sincerely convince this old master of your words, you're free to borrow this place. Zhong Ao followed Yang Kai inside, not showing the slightest trace of politeness, obviously intending to observe and emulate Yang Kai's methods. If Yang Kai really possessed a method to refine pill clouds, he could study and replicate it. Even if he lost half of the profound in sunflower water, he would be willing. Conversely, if Yang Kai was just shamelessly boasting, Zhong Ao was happy to watch this joke play out while obtaining a servant he could order around for a lifetime. Zhong Ao was ready for a protracted campaign, and as soon as he entered the pill room, he dragged the only chair over and sat down silently, concealing even the sound of his breathing, seemingly unwilling to disturb Yang Kai's concentration in the slightest, lest it give the young boy an excuse later on. Yang Kai noticed all this but made no attempt to stop Zhong Ao, walking over to examine the several dozen pill furnaces, reaching out and patting them from time to time, nodding continually, a look of envy appearing in his eyes. Zhong Ao was at least an Origin-grade high-rank alchemist, most likely even an Origin King-grade alchemist. How could his pill furnaces be anything but extraordinary? There were several dozen pill furnaces here of various sizes, each one of extremely high grade, the lowest still a Saint King-grade high-rank artifact. Yang Kai, on the other hand, was still using the small pill furnace left behind by Great Demon God. On Tongxian realm, this small pill furnace was considered quite good, but compared to the ones owned by Zhong Ao, it is a person on the ground gazing up at the heavens several grades worse at least. A good pill furnace could greatly improve the stability and fit of an alchemist's spirit arrays as well as increase the success rate and quality of the refined pills. Therefore, in addition to their lifetime pursuit of alchemy, alchemists would also expend great effort to obtain or refine an excellent pill furnace. Seeing Zhong Ao's collection of outstanding pill furnaces here, how could Yang Kai not be jealous? He even secretly regretted that he didn't add these furnaces into their previous bet, wondering if he asked now whether Zhong Ao would refuse or not. After looking around, Yang Kai's eyes fixed on the highest quality pill furnace, patting it gently and nodding, choosing to use it for the time being. "Your eyes aren't bad, little brat," Zhong Ao, who had been watching silently, couldn't help commenting with a snort upon seeing Yang Kai select his own favorite pill furnace. Alchemists had special feelings regarding their pill furnaces, many of them even regarding their pill furnaces with the same level of importance as their wife or daughter, something that belonged only to them and who no other was worthy to touch. Whoever dared to covet it, they would be willing to fight all out with. Probably because he owned so many pill furnaces. Zhong Ao didn't have such an overbearing mentality, but this scene still brought some bitterness to his heart. Yang Kai pretended he hadn't heard anything and simply began sorting out the herbs inside the various space rings to avoid having to search for them later on when he needed them. Sitting down cross-legged in front of the pill furnace, Yang Kai's expression instantly became solemn. Zhong Ao's eyes brightened and he couldn't help nodded silently. This rapid change in temperament and expression alone allowed Zhong Ao to understand that Yang Kai was not a novice. This young man had extensive experience in the alchemic way. If he hadn't, he wouldn't have been able to assume such a state, completely focused, nothing else existing in the world other than the herbs and furnace in front of him. Zhong Ao himself also entered this state when he was performing alchemy, so he naturally knew of its rarity and mystery. However, 2,000 sets of materials, repeating the same refinement over and over again. Doing this for an extended period of time would cause anyone to become irritated, breaking their concentration. Once such a situation occurred, it would become impossible to refine a proper pill. Zhong Ao's thoughts turned over quickly, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, preparing to watch a good show. A scorching force suddenly spread from Yang Kai, but this force wasn't Saint Qi or any other kind of physical force, but instead came from his spiritual energy from his knowledge sea. Conflagrated knowledge sea? Zhong Ao's face changed suddenly, his eyes bulging as he couldn't help calling out in alarm. His body, which had been reclining in his chair, suddenly sat up and even leaned forward, his neck stretching out as if doing so would allow him to see more clearly. The expression on Zhong Ao's face changed dramatically, as if he was excited and panic-stricken at the same time, a look of disbelief and even some jealousy appearing in his expression. He even crushed the armrest of his chair, inadvertently. It was actually a conflagrated knowledge sea. Zhong Ao's heart flooded with complicated emotions. As a skilled alchemist, how could he not know how valuable a conflagrated knowledge sea was? Even he didn't possess such special spiritual energy. Conflagrated knowledge seas were a rarity. Some were innate while others were acquired. But as long as one could obtain a conflagrated knowledge sea, it would dramatically improve their alchemy ability. With a conflagrated knowledge sea, performing alchemy would become more efficient and effective. In his life, Zhong Ao had met one or two alchemists who possessed conflagrated knowledge seas, each of whom used their special spiritual energy to refine pills at a monstrous level of efficiency, making Zhong Ao candidly admit his inferiority. More than 200 years ago, after witnessing the astonishing methods of a colleague with a conflagrated knowledge sea, Zhong Ao had devoted himself to finding a way to transform his own knowledge sea, seeking out various flame essences and attempting to refine them into his own soul. At that time, he barely managed to survive and severely damaged his knowledge sea. Only after several dozen years, taking many elixirs and precious treasures, was he gradually able to recover. Although he had not been able to mutate his knowledge sea, during those few decades of cultivation and recovery, he was able to come up with the idea of mass alchemy in order to increase the appearance of pill veins. But now, a young man less than 30 years of age actually owned a conflagrated knowledge sea. How could Zhong Ao not be envious? As this envy surged, Zhong Ao suddenly recalled all the suffering he had experienced in the past, causing him to shiver in fear as well as eliminate any covetous feelings he might have had. His eyes shining brightly, Zhong Ao watched Yang Kai begin condensing the medical liquids, thinking to himself that conflagrated knowledge seas were indeed worthy of their reputation. This boy's cultivation wasn't high, just a recently promoted third-order saint. However, under the effects of his conflagrated knowledge sea, these Saint King's great herbs were rapidly condensed into pure drops of medical liquid. Exquisite spirit arrays were formed in the air and then inserted into the pill furnace, followed by the condensed medicinal liquids. Although there were some slight flaws in the timing, for someone refining the burning flame pill for the first time it was pretty good. No alchemist was immediately proficient in refining pills they had never created before, that required time and experience. Zhong Ao was certain this was Yang Kai's first attempt to refine the burning flame pill, so being able to show this much skill was already beyond his expectations. Another spirit array was depicted and then inserted into the pill furnace, replacing the previous one. The various spirit arrays fit perfectly inside the pill furnace and merged with one another, causing the medicinal liquids to undergo subtle and wondrous changes. How is that possible? Zhong Ao exclaimed again, unable to understand what he had just witnessed. How could so completely changing the configuration of the spirit arrays in the middle of alchemy not affect the production of a pill? Although he would sometimes change the spirit arrays while in the process of alchemy, he would do so with extreme care and only chose to do so during moments when the tolerance for error was relatively large. However, Yang Kai was able to change spirit arrays in an unbridled, nearly careless manner, doing so more than a dozen times in quick succession. Zhong Ao wanted to grab Yang Kai immediately and ask him what was happening, but he was also too embarrassed to do so, only able to choke down his doubts and wait while trying to calm his anxious heart. Inside the pill room, Yang Kai waved his hands constantly, portraying one spirit array after another, continuing to destroy and replace the ones already inside the pill furnace. When portraying these spirit arrays, his spiritual energy fluctuations seemed both strong yet delicate all at once. The longer Zhong Ao looked, the more anxious he became, and it wasn't long before his indifferent facade collapsed. He even recklessly approached Yang Kai in order to get a better view of the spirit arrays he was using. These spirit arrays were all familiar to Zhong Ao, some of them even his own original creations. It was abundantly clear that this little brat had stolen these alchemy skills from him and was now using them for his own purposes. However, these spirit arrays which were so familiar to Zhong Ao were actually undergoing some profound and mysterious changes after being inserted by Yang Kai into the pill furnace, allowing the medicinal liquids to churn and condense in subtly different ways. Soon, a rich pill fragrance began to diffuse. Zhong Ao showed a thoughtful expression, faintly feeling like a crack had opened up in the barriers which barred his own advancement. He wanted to peer through this crack more clearly, but was unable to immediately force it open, nearly causing him to stamp his foot in annoyance. He was a true alchemy grandmaster, and in terms of true alchemy skills and techniques was far beyond Yang Kai. But now, observing Yang Kai's completely different methods, Zhong Ao's eyes brightened up. Sometimes, even an inadvertent action by others could bring about unexpected gains to another, allowing them to fall into a state of epiphany. Therefore, as each new era developed, new alchemy methods also appeared and developed, and over the countless years, countless alchemists had created countless branches of alchemy, each with their own unique spirit arrays. Even someone as knowledgeable as Zhong Ao didn't dare claim to have mastered all alchemy skills in existence. He still continued to explore his own path in an attempt to pursue his goals. After 100 years of near-secluded alchemy, his thinking had become somewhat rigid, so seeing Yang Kai's actions now had brought him many inspirations related to all aspects of alchemy, even ones that Yang Kai's current process had nothing to do with. Keep refining, what are you stopping for? In his agitated state, feeling like he was on the cusp of multiple new discoveries, Zhong Ao suddenly found that Yang Kai had actually stopped his movements and couldn't help speaking up. Old Zhong, can you be quiet? With you acting like this, I can't focus on alchemy. Yang Kai frowned at him. Zhong Ao's face blushed bright red, unable and unwilling to say anything. He then noticed that from inside the pill furnace in front of Yang Kai, a burnt smell was wafting out, and the medicinal liquids which had been tumbling about had all become useless. Apparently, this alchemy attempt had failed, wasting the batch of herbs. Such a result is inevitable for a first attempt, trying to cover up his embarrassment for disturbing Yang Kai's alchemy. Zhong Ao actually took the initiative to speak a few words of comfort before waving his hand. Good. This old master will sit back down and promises to not disturb you anymore. Go ahead and continue. Saying so, he walked back to his chair and sat down, concealing his aura again. If he didn't look back now, Yang Kai wouldn't even be able to notice Zhong Ao's existence. It was clear this old man's cultivation was far above his own. Yang Kai shook his head. Through these days of contact, he had discovered that although Zhong Ao had a strange temperament, his obsession with the alchemic way was incredibly strong. Anything to do with alchemy could arouse his interest. If this weren't the case, he wouldn't have remained in isolation here for 100 years just to further his pursuit of alchemy. As long as he could refine 1 or 2 pills that formed pill veins, he would be extremely excited. Such people seem unfriendly and indifferent, but they weren't difficult to deal with. As long as one could win their favor, they would be easier to get along with than anyone else. Yang Kai had encountered many such people before, so he knew how to cope with them. Yang Kai wasn't worried about Zhong Ao stealing his alchemy skills because, in front of Zhong Ao, he couldn't stop him no matter how he tried. To Yang Kai, he also did not care much about keeping his alchemy skills secret. However much Zhong Ao could learn from observing and emulating was fine with him. What Yang Kai was concerned about was the profound in sunflower water. After clearing the burnt dregs from the pill furnace, Yang Kai started refining a burning flame pill again. The first refining failing just now was not because of Zhong Ao's interruption. Even if Zhong Ao was shouting loudly, he wouldn't have been able to break Yang Kai's concentration. When he was in Nine Heavens' Holy Land, every time Yang Kai performed alchemy, several people would be around him studying his methods and conversing endlessly. Yang Kai would even join these conversations at times and answer questions he was asked. He had long ago gotten used to this. In truth, Yang Kai failed to refine the burning flame pill just now because it was his first attempt and he had yet to master the necessary control and timing. During the second refining, Yang Kai had learned a lot, and although it still failed in the end, it did not dampen his enthusiasm. After the third refining failed at the last moment, Yang Kai's expression became more confident. He felt that he had understood the full process required to complete the burning flame pill. Finally, on the fourth attempt, a rich pill scent filled the air and Yang Kai successfully extracted a burning flame pill from the furnace. Yang Kai placed the warm pill in a prepared jade bottle. Before Yang Kai had enough time to even catch his breath before it was taken away by Zhong Ao. After only one glance, Zhong Ao threw the jade bottle back, snorting as he commented, "You succeeding after only 4 attempts isn't bad, little boy, but you couldn't even form pill veins, so how do you expect to refine clouds? What's the hurry? This is just the beginning." Yang Kai smiled, ignored him, and continued on to the next refinement without even a break. The disdain on Zhong Ao's face gradually converged and was replaced with solemnity as he grumbled in his heart. When it came to speed, a conflagrated knowledge sea was truly a terrifying tool for alchemy. Even if he had taken action personally, Zhong Ao estimated it would take him a stick of incense worth of time to refine a burning flame pill. But this little brat's first success actually only required an hour. By comparison, an hour seemed quite long, but Zhong Ao knew better than anyone that if it only took this long for this little brat on his first time, as he became more adept at refining the burning flame pill, that time would rapidly shrink and may even become indistinguishable from his own. In terms of cultivation alchemy level, or even time spent studying the alchemic way, Zhong Ao far exceeded Yang Kai, but very soon it was possible he could refine the same pill in the same amount of time. What kind of concept was that? Zhong Ao was immediately envious of Yang Kai's conflagrated knowledge sea again, anxious to take it for his own use, but when he remembered the pain he had experienced all those years ago, he managed to bear it. Days passed by. Every day, Yang Kai would refine 10 burning flame pills, no more, no less. After refining these 10 pills, he would sit in cross-legged meditation immediately and, while restoring his spiritual energy, would reflect upon his alchemy process, improve his understanding. During this time, Zhong Ao didn't bother Yang Kai and was also often lost in his own contemplations. Since Yang Kai began, Zhong Ao had not performed alchemy even once, spending each day watching Yang Kai repeat the process of refining the same type of pill over and over and over again, seemingly without end. But not only did Zhong Ao not feel bored, he rather enjoyed watching. The frequent replacement of spirit arrays inside the pill furnace Yang Kai performed had seemingly opened up a new avenue in alchemy for Zhong Ao. He had never before thought of replacing the composite spirit array while refining a pill over a dozen times. Yang Kai's bizarre and seemingly eccentric methods gave Zhong Ao a sense of excitement, and he felt as if the clouds obscuring his view were clearing, allowing the bright rays of the moon to shine in. As a top-level alchemy grandmaster, Zhong Ao's thoughts and ideas expanded far beyond what Yang Kai had demonstrated to him, and he faintly felt the mental block that had bound him for many years show signs breaking. This discovery made Zhong Ao's blood boil. 1 month passed by, and Yang Kai had now successfully refined 300 burning flame pills. When each pill was refined, Zhong Ao would grab it and inspect it, but to his surprise, all 300 burning flame pills Yang Kai had produced were just ordinary pills. Yang Kai's tone had been so confident before that Zhong Ao had believed he possessed some kind of extraordinary ability that would at least occasionally allow him to refine burning flame pills with pill veins. But among the 300 pills, not even one was formed with pill veins. Zhong Ao couldn't help feeling a little disappointed and finally asked, "Little brat, can you even refine pill veins? If you just want to rely on luck to form pill clouds, this old master advises you to give up." During this old master's lifetime of alchemy, even if he hasn't produced 1,000,000 pills, he has at least produced several 100,000, but out of all those, only a handful formed pill clouds, and their grades were not high. Do you want to produce pill clouds within just 2,000 attempts? Wishful thinking. I don't intend to rely on luck. Yang Kai smiled. The first 300 pills were just for me to familiarize myself with the process. Become familiar with the process? Zhong Ao looked at him suspiciously. Now I know how to refine the burning flame pill at the fastest speed and with the optimal spirit arrays, so the important part comes next. Zhong Ao frowned, wondering what Yang Kai was planning. Over the past month, the speed at which he refined burning flame pills had indeed grown faster and faster. In the beginning, it had taken Yang Kai an hour to make a single pill. Now he didn't even need half an hour, and Zhong Ao believed that as long as Yang Kai continued, this time would eventually be shortened to an amazing degree. What surprised Zhong Ao the most, however, was not Yang Kai's alchemy speed, but his success rate. After the first 3 pills failed to be refined by him, Yang Kai suddenly seemed to have reached completely mastery, never again failing to successfully refine a pill. Zhong Ao was nearly shocked to death by Yang Kai. Even if it was him, some unexpected conditions would inevitably occur during alchemy, causing him to fail and burn the medicinal liquids. Such a situation basically could not be avoided by any alchemist. However, this kind of common sense seemed to not apply to Yang Kai. Every batch of herbs become a pill, and although the quality of those pills differed slightly due to adjustments in temperature and timing, as time passed, the quality of the burning flame pills refined was on average improving, nearly fully utilizing the medicinal efficacies of the herbs. Is this the true terrifying merit of possessing a conflagrated knowledge? See? Zhong Ao thought to himself absent-mindedly. Inside the pill room, Yang Kai was sweating profusely as one pill after another was refined from his hands. Zhong Ao's eyes widened and he stared at Yang Kai fixedly. As the sun set over the mountain valley, today's alchemy came to an end, and Yang Kai put away the last pill without so much as a glance, placed the jade bottle on the ground, and kept a cross-legged sitting posture, popping a pill into his mouth to restore the spiritual energy he had consumed. Zhong Ao flew over in a flurry and unceremoniously grabbed the jade bottle, opening it and pouring out the 10 pills refined today to carefully inspect them. How can this be? How can this be? After a while, Zhong Ao muttered to himself in a daze, his face filled with disbelief. It seemed that these 10 pills had given him a great shock, even threatening to crumble his 100 years of unshaken conviction. His face suddenly became a little pale as he stared over towards Yang Kai, a bitter smile creeping onto his face as he sank to the ground, as if he had lost all his strength. Of these 10 pills, 3 had formed pill veins. This kind of success rate was something beyond Zhong Ao's wildest imagination. He was a supreme alchemy grandmaster, and after several dozen years of dedicated contemplation, he had finally come up with an alchemy method to achieve success in this field through sheer quantity. He had come to Rainfall Star to take advantage of the herbs provided by Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce, then consumed enormous amounts of effort for nearly 100 years in continuous alchemy, refining dozens of pills at the same time. And even with all that, only when his luck was extremely good would he be able to refine 3 pills which formed pill veins at once. Sometimes, when his luck was bad, not even one such pill would appear. But this little brat, through the method Zhong had once discarded, refining only one pill at a time, had actually managed to form pill veins with a 30% success rate. This situation had not just occurred once or twice though. It had been happening consistently for nearly a month. Every day Xianxia refined 10 pills, no more, no less, and among these 10, 2 or 3 pills would invariably form pill veins. This gave Zhong an enormous shock as well as attack. It had been 2 months since Xianxia started to refine burning flame pills. At first, when Xianxia refined 300 ordinary burning flame pills, Zhong had mocked him fiercely, thinking he couldn't even form pill veins, let alone pill clouds. However, ever since the second month, this little brat's actions had thoroughly shredded Zhong pride. On the first day of the second month, Xianxia refined 2 burning flame pills which formed pill veins. Zhong praised him slightly, but still held on to his mentality of disdain, thinking he had just gotten lucky. On the second day of the second month, when Xianxia replicated these results, Zhong disdain disappeared. On the third day it was still the same, and Zhong could no longer sit still. Finally today, Zhong felt as if he was on the verge of going insane. 100 years of persistence in his own philosophy felt as if were being struck by thunder and lightning every day Xianxia refined these 10 pills, all traces of confidence and pride evaporating from his body. If pill veins were so easy to form, just what had he been doing for the past century? Zhong efforts to develop a unique mass-production alchemy method seemed like a childish waste of time in the face of these burning flame pills formed with pill veins. Holding the slightly warm jade bottle, Zhong hand trembled, and disregarding Xianxia's meditation to restore himself, he strode over in front of him and anxiously said, "Boy, tell this old master what it is he is missing. Why are you able to refine so many pills which form pill veins?" Xianxia slowly opened his eyes and was greeted by the sight of Zhong bloodshot gaze, as if the latter had not had a good night's rest in years. Zhong had been contemplating this very issue for some time now, but no matter how he thought about it, he was unable to understand what Xianxia had done which allowed him to so easily refine pill veins, causing his eyes to literally go red with jealousy. "No idea, just luck I guess." Hearing Xianxia's blatantly perfunctory words, Zhong snorted. "Don't think this old master is a fool. How could I not see that this has nothing to do with luck? Boy, don't try to feign ignorance. Explain clearly. This old master will compensate you." Right now, Zhong wished he could barge into Xianxia's knowledge sea and spy on his consciousness. Xianxia shook his head. "Old Zhong, you also know that each school treats its alchemy skills as treasures and will not divulge them to outsiders. Smelly brat, didn't you snoop around this old master's medicine garden spirit arrays? Didn't you read many of the ancient books in this old master's study? When did this old master ever raise any objections while you pilfered those secrets?" Old Zhong's words are misplaced. As an illustrious grandmaster, it is old Zhong's duty to guide and instruct the younger generation, and besides, what I was able to learn was nothing more than some general knowledge and peripheral techniques, nothing even worth concealing. On the other hand, my method for producing pill veins is different. It is the very core inheritance of my school. How could it be compared with those spirit arrays? This old master doesn't care. If you don't explain clearly today, this old master will open your skull and search your soul. Such shamelessness. Totally disregarding face. Hearing this threat, Xianxia felt great disdain in his heart. However, he also knew that Zhong was just blowing hot air. With Zhong identity and strength, if he really wanted to force Xianxia to explain his methods, there was no need for him to get so worked up or make such a force. He could simply take action. Zhong acting in such a fluster now was because, despite being at his wit's end, he had determined he could not resort to violence. He was simply extremely jealous of this method of refining pill veins, to the extent that he was willing to disregard his face as a senior. At worst, this old master can worship you as his teacher. Zhong snorted, his face completely solemn as if he saw nothing wrong with this statement at all. Xianxia gawked at him in shock, never having expected him to utter such shameless words, even feeling a hint of admiration. Still, he shook his head. "Old Zhong, It's not that Junior can't make an exception and enlighten you. It's just that this method can't be used by others. Back in Nine Heavens Holy Land, Xianxia had freely taught the alchemy grandmasters of Tongshan realm his method to refine pill veins, and although they had some gains, none of them could even approach Xianxia's level of skill. Only when Xianxia arrived did Xianxia find a partner he could discuss this method with as an equal. In the end, this was related to the magical properties of his conflagrated knowledge. See, whether others can learn your methods or not is up to them. This old master will figure something out on his own. You need not worry about my success or failure, Zhong Ao said with great determination. Compared to learning this secret, his face was worthless. Xianxia felt helpless as he knew such a situation would occur, hesitating for a moment before saying, "Old Zhong, how about we do an exchange?" "What kind of exchange? What else do you want to take from this old master?" "Your method of mass alchemy. I want it," Xianxia said bluntly. Xianxia had never met anyone who could use several dozen pill furnaces all at once. Zhong Ao's alchemy technique was both skillful and refined, enough so for him to open up his own school of alchemy. Xianxia very much wished to learn this method. Using just his Saint Qi, Zhong Ao was able to perform several dozen different alchemy refinements at the same time. Xianxia could use both Saint Qi and spiritual energy to perform alchemy. Once he studied Zhong Ao's method, using it shouldn't be an issue. See for yourself. In a flash of light, Zhong Ao extracted a plain-looking book from his space ring and tossed it over to Xianxia without any hesitation. Xianxia caught it and flipped through a few pages, quickly determining that this was indeed the alchemy method that Zhong Ao pioneered. There was a detailed introduction to it as well as many explanations. Presumably Zhong Ao had written this book with the intention to one day pass it on to his disciples. Now it had fallen into Xianxia's hands. Xianxia nodded lightly before storing the book into his own space ring, scratching his nose as he said, "These pill furnaces? I'll give you 10. Zhong Ao waved his hand, and although he spoke boldly, his face was still twitching. It was obvious to anyone he was extremely distressed. In order to collect these dozens of pill furnaces, Zhong Ao had traveled far and wide to collect appropriate materials in order to refine them, nearly dying several times. After he had collected the materials, he had personally found a Grandmaster artifact refiner he was acquainted with to create them. It could be said that each pill furnace was the crystallization of Zhong Ao's blood and sweat, a testimony to years of his hard work. Now though he actually had to offer up 10 of them to this brat, making him feel as if his heart was bleeding. "Half!" Xianxia raised a finger and swung it. Zhong Ao stared at him with even redder eyes, his face growing pale, seemingly on the verge of biting his head off. But after a long pause, he nodded. "Fine, half." In any case, when this little brat failed to refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds, he would become his lifetime servant. When that happened, wouldn't Zhong Ao still own these things? Zhong Ao had never been optimistic about Xianxia's chances, even if he had received tremendous shock this past month. Only if Xianxia's luck was truly heaven-defying could he somehow manage to refine pill clouds. And if that were to happen, Zhong Ao wouldn't have anything to say. However, such a chance was too slim. Xianxia smiled widely, not having expected these negotiations to go so smoothly. He had thought that after living in isolation for so long, and with his pride as a Grandmaster alchemist, Zhong Ao's personal and negotiation skills wouldn't be good. But how could Xianxia have known they would actually be so terrible? "Old Zhong, have you never thought about engraving a spirit array into a pill just as it was about to form? To put it plainly, pill veins are simply a type of profound spirit array. If they weren't, how would they be able to maintain a pill's efficacy over vast stretches of time?" Xianxia said to him with a smile. "Engraving a spirit array into a pill?" Zhong Ao's eyes widened, parroting these words back as a look of shock filled his face. At that moment, the shackles and barriers which had fettered him for so many years were torn asunder, allowing him to gaze upon a wider world he could swim and soar through freely. Alchemists needed spirit arrays to perform alchemy. Artifact refiners also needed to use spirit arrays in artifact refining. Many of the basic spirit arrays were even the same, but since ancient times, alchemists and artifact refiners had thought of spirit arrays as auxiliaries to the refinement process. During a refinement, various materials were perfectly integrated through the power of various spirit arrays to allow them to achieve their peak effect. No one had ever told Zhong Ao that a spirit array which was designed to aid in alchemy could be inscribed into a pill. Old Zhong, perhaps you consider pill veins to be something generated naturally, but when I engage in alchemy, I try to deliberately form pill veins. However, this process requires the use of a conflagrated knowledge C. Only a conflagrated knowledge C can rapidly and perfectly portray an appropriate spirit array at the moment a pill is formed. I don't know if Saint Chi can be substituted for spiritual energy in this process, but with this method, the probability of you refining pill veins should be higher than your current method. Yang Kai knew that he had not spoken in vain and that Zhong Ao had now fallen into a trance, the expression on his face constantly changing. His eyes were blank while sometimes full of light. He was clearly experiencing an epiphany. Yang Kai shook his head and did not bother him, focusing instead of restoring himself. 10 burning flame pills per day, 300 pills per month, and a 20 to 30% chance these pills would form pill veins. Such achievements were enough to show disdain for the entirety of the Starfield's alchemists. But Yang Kai felt no joy, because even if he could refine more pills with pill veins, he could not solve Shui Yu and his own crisis. What he needed was a single burning flame pill which formed pill clouds. With every attempt, Yang Kai went all out, not daring to slack, giving 100% of his effort and focus to this alchemy. The chance of generating pill veins greatly increased over time, and as he further mastered the refinement of burning flame pills, it reached as high as 40%. This meant that nearly half the burning flame pills refined by Yang Kai formed pill veins, an incredible feat. If these things were given to a cultivator who cultivated a fire attribute secret art, they would be able to rapidly improve their strength, but now they were all simply tossed aside by Yang Kai. Every day, after he finished performing alchemy, Yang Kai felt exhausted. Refining a trivial 10 burning flame pills couldn't cause him such fatigue. Rather, it was the huge psychological pressure weighing down on him which was responsible. And as time passed, that pressure only grew heavier. Yang Kai now deeply realized how difficult it was to refine pill clouds and even understood why those alchemists who occasionally succeeded in this feat would shed tears of joy and offer thanks to the heavens. He could also wait for the heavens to bestow him such good fortune, solving his current crisis. Unlike Yang Kai, who was constantly frowning and in an irritable mood, Zhong Ao's face beamed radiantly these days and was filled with energy. After Yang Kai's words made him fall into an epiphany, he discovered that his own alchemy technique had been unknowingly improved. Every time he used to refine several dozen pills at once, he would need to maintain absolute focus in order to avoid mistakes, but now he could actually accomplish this task with ease, as if he was cooking a light meal. And, by applying Yang Kai's method, he had also successfully artificially refined pill veins. Although his success rate wasn't as frightening as Yang Kai's, it still reached as high as 10%. 1/10, that meant that for every 10 pills he refined, one would form pill veins. This was something Zhong Ao had never even dreamed of before. Zhong Ao had his own pride and insistences, but regarding this matter, he was truly grateful to Yang Kai. If Yang Kai hadn't helped him overcome his mental block, Zhong Ao imagined he would have blindly continued down his current alchemy path and eventually gone astray. By now, Zhong Ao felt Yang Kai was incredibly pleasing to the eye. He no longer cared about him robbing half his pill furnaces. He didn't bother Yang Kai at all, spending all day long familiarizing himself with the new alchemy method Yang Kai had taught him while studying all kinds of spirit arrays, choosing the ones most suited to form pill veins. He had reaped a huge harvest, and even his short temper had softened greatly, spending much of the day in a festive and laughing mood. When the Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce cultivator responsible for the regular delivery of herbs and collection of pills came, he could hardly believe his eyes. He would be incredibly frightened and apprehensive every time he came to this place, as if he was walking on thin ice, only wanting to quickly hand over the herbs to Zhong Ao and take the refined pills before fleeing the mountain valley out of fear that Zhong Ao would find trouble with him. During these exchanges, Zhong Ao would perpetually wear a sour expression, as if he owed him millions of saint crystals. But this most recent time, Zhong Ao actually welcomed him with a smile, said a few words of thanks and praise while patting his shoulders, saying he had worked hard in these recent years, finally even inviting him inside to have a cup of tea. The cultivator was so scared, he didn't even dare utter a word before departing in a fear-induced panic. When this man reported what had happened with Zhong Ao to Hali Ka, Lin Mufeng and the other executives, all of them were just as dumbfounded, wondering what Zhong Ao had experienced to undergo such a drastic change, only able to guess it had something to do with Yang Kai. These executives were very concerned about the progress of this matter, because if Lady Xuer was unable to awaken again, they would all be punished, very likely implicating the entire branch. After incurring Third Young Master's anger, it wasn't impossible for all of them to be sent as slave miners to N or Star. However, none of them had the courage to ask Zhong Ao anything. Each day that passed now feeling like an entire year, all of them only able to wait for Yang Kai to pass along the news to them. On a certain day, Yang Kai finished his alchemy, the expression on his face unsettled, a dark cloud hanging over him as he sat cross-legged there without moving. Zhong Ao came over and glanced towards the piled-up burning flame pills nearby, asking lightly, "How many batches of materials have been consumed?" "It's been 6 months. So more than 1,800. Yang Kai replied casually. "More than 1,800 batches." Zhong Ao took a soft breath. "There are 700 or 800 burning flame pills here that have formed pill veins. Being able to achieve such a result is something you can take great pride in. So why do you look so dissatisfied, kid?" "I only want one pill with pill clouds." Yang Kai glanced up at him. "Even if all these pills formed pill veins, they'd be worthless to me. Is this little girl really so important to you? My life is literally connected to hers. How important do you think she is to me?" Yang Kai smiled bitterly. "Your lives are linked?" Zhong Ao frowned slightly, pondering for a moment before calling out in shock, "Soul chains? You know about them, old Zhong?" "Of course this old master knows about them. Only soul chains can connect the lives of two people. It's an artifact which carries the soul skill of one of Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's honored guest elders. No wonder when I checked for her last time I felt there was an invisible connection between you. Who is this little girl to AIO? How did you two end up like this?" Zhong Ao was an experienced master, and from all the clues he was able to infer that Xueyu had a close relationship to AIO. Otherwise, it was impossible for her to possess soul chains. Yang Kai just shook his head, not wanting to explain, just saying wryly, "Old Zhong, I now understand the meaning of that phrase you always speak." Zhong Ao chuckled. "Pills are difficult to refine, and when others hear it, they only assume this old master is showing off his alchemy skills, but there are a rare few who can understand the bitterness which lies behind them. Kid, it seems you now count among those few." He was finally not alone. Yang Kai had become a fellow comrade. Seeing Yang Kai remain silent, Zhong Ao paused for a moment before saying, "You only have less than 200 batches of burning flame pill herbs left that you will consume in less than a month. That little girl also only has about half a year left to live. What do you plan to do now? There's still time to let Hali Ka gather up more herbs, but even if you collect more materials, you won't have many opportunities left." Yang Kai sat in place and thought for a long time before declaring, "I'm going out for a walk." Saying so, he stood up and walked out. Zhong Ao stared at his back and nodded lightly. Sometimes, when a person worked for a long time at something but was still unable to accomplish it, it was best to set it aside, clear their head, and refresh their mood. Although by continuing to attack the problem forcefully, there was always a chance of success. Doing so would also often cause people to develop mental blocks that would hamper their progress rather than help it. Zhong Ao's own experience was the best example of this. He had worked in isolation on his alchemy method for 100 years, but only after Yang Kai's sentence had he managed to see the light. However, no one could wake up Yang Kai now. He really needed to go out and walk around. Perhaps in his travels, he would find some inspiration that could lead him to the right path. Inside Xueyu's room, Yang Kai stayed for a while to examine her condition. Yang Kai hadn't come to see her since he began refining burning flame pills, and after half a year, Xueyu's condition had finally started to show some signs of deterioration. Her vitality, which Zhong Ao had managed to stabilize, was being continuously consumed, and her white skin had become paler, with traces of frost appearing on it now. Yang Kai knew that the profound in sunflower water which had been temporarily suppressed was once again showing its effects. Shuiyu would die if he failed to refine a burning flame pill with pill clouds. It was also impossible for Hali Ka to collect more herbs. There was no supply anywhere close enough to be found. But even if he could, it was pointless. Without saying a word, Yang Kai left Zhong Ao's palace, and not caring about a destination, he simply summoned out his star shuttle and flew off. Yang Kai crossed famous mountains and rivers, jungle and swamps, taking on the role of an outsider, an observer watching the day-to-day lives of the people on Rainfall Star, as well as its various natural sights and scenes. The endless stream of emerging cultivators and the prosperity and suffering of ordinary mortals were all taken in by Yang Kai with great interest. Gradually, his anxiety settled, and the stone which had been weighing down his heart this past year slowly lifted, allowing him to relax and even forget about Shuiyu and his own crisis. Stopping over in each and every small town, Yang Kai left his footprints all over Rainfall Star, spectating bloody, corpse-filled conflicts between big and small families because of various interests. Seeing sects receive disciples of all sorts of cultivations, the successful rejoicing while the unsuccessful wept. Watching a group of people fight over an artifact, their past bonds of brotherhood tossed to the wind. Observing those of great ability scatter the clouds and rain, obtaining the praise and admiration of others. Finding a young beauty bathing in the mountains and stopping a while to peek, after which he was hunted down by several dozen big and little girls from a nearby sect. Fleeing in panic like a stray dog, drinking heartily until he half drowned in alcohol. Yang Kai had never experienced such an unrestrained carefree time in his life. He no longer thought about his search for Su Yan, or about what would happen if Shuiyu were to die. He didn't even think about his friends and family back on Tongxian realm. Only obeying the whims of the moment, Yang Kai experienced an indescribable freedom and joy, going where he pleased, doing what he wanted without any regard for consequences. He suddenly felt as if there was nothing he couldn't do. Inside a remote mountain forest, a Saint Realm cultivator was fighting a blue-eyed fire dragon 8th order monster beast, in order to seize the origin grade blue bloodflower spirit herb it was guarding. Just after this battle began, Yang Kai happened to pass by. He didn't interfere though, instead choosing to stand back and watch from a distance. Saints couldn't be regarded as powerful cultivators on the vibrant Rainfall Star. You could find crowds of them anywhere. Yang Kai stood on a high slope, holding a wine sack in his hand, watching while he drank. He had no plan to lend this cultivator a hand and was only intending to watch the show. The cultivator was obviously not worthy to be the blue-eyed fire dragon's opponent, and it wasn't long before he became battered and bloodstained, nearly dying a few times, his defensive artifact smashed and his abdomen pierced by a sharp horn on the forehead of the dragon. Yang Kai was certain this cultivator was destined to die, but just as he was preparing to depart, the fight suddenly took an unexpected turn. The 8th order monster beast, who had held the absolute upper hand from start to finish, began retreating as it howled in anger. After the cultivator's defensive artifact was completely destroyed, all of a sudden he managed to summon forth unimaginable strength, abandoned any kind of defenses, and attacked the fire dragon with a stern and fearless attitude. Half an hour later, the blood and guts of the blue-eyed fire dragon spilled across the ground and it fell to the ground, dead. The Saint Realm cultivator also collapsed, stuffing a handful of pills into his mouth but failing to stop the last remnants of his vitality from slipping away. The gap in strength was too great, and although this cultivator had somehow managed to kill the blue-eyed fire dragon, taking its life while losing his own was the limit of his ability. Yang Kai held his wine sack and walked over to this cultivator, standing in front of and overlooking him. The cultivator's dim and fearful eyes seemed to flash a profound light as he arduously stretched out his hand toward Yang Kai, as if grasping for his own vitality. Yet all he was able to catch was air. His expression was filled with the desire to live. Yang Kai drank a mouthful of wine before squatting down, and without a word forced a drop of golden blood from his fingertip into the open mouth of the cultivator. Yang Kai's demon god golden blood had an extremely powerful restore ability, one he had relied upon several times to survive. However, He always felt that his demon god Golden Blood was somehow not on the same level as great demon gods. A single drop of golden blood from great demon god contained infinite power as well as all kinds of profound mysteries. Xianxia was able to obtain and cultivate one of great demon god's divine ability by refining a drop of his blood. Demon General Shueli had also hunted him across all of Tongxin realm just for a chance to seize this blood. Although the quality was vastly inferior, it still had some restorative properties. Suddenly, the bloody cultivator was shrouded in the faint golden halo, and a look of shock and disbelief appeared on his face. He felt as if his condition had dramatically improved and the approaching aura of death was gradually dissipating, giving him some hope he could yet survive. He looked at Xianxia in confusion, wondering why this stranger who had just passed by would save his life. He opened his mouth to speak but failed to form any words. Xianxia simply grinned towards him. "Don't thank me. In fact, I should be thanking you, and I've only given you a chance. Whether you live or die now depends on your own fortune." After saying so, Xianxia tossed his half-filled wine sack onto the ground and strode away while letting out a loud, carefree laugh. Sometime later, the cultivator managed to sit upright and stare off in the direction Xianxia left with a puzzled look on his face. He didn't know why Xianxia had thanked him, and eventually figured that this young man simply had some kind of problem with his head. However, the other party did save his life, which was an indisputable truth. Grabbing Xianxia's wine sack, he drank a mouthful in order to celebrate his victory and survival. But when the wine hit his stomach, the cultivator couldn't help grimacing in pain, sweat once again covering his whole body. Not daring to act rashly, the man immediately focused on refining the potent medicinal efficacies of this drink. Inside the mountain valley, Zhong-Ao was working hard to refine pills. Now he no longer used his original mass alchemy method, but instead, like Xianxia, chose his best pill furnace to refine one pill at a time. Every time he extracted a pill formed with pill veins from this furnace, Zhong-Ao's old face would smile broadly, the wrinkles and folds of his skin squishing together to form a terrifying visage. In any case, no one ever came to this place. Xianxia had left, and the only outsider around was in a coma. No one could see his horrible grin, so Zhong-Ao didn't need to worry about embarrassing himself. Suddenly, at a critical moment in his refinement, Zhong-Ao's expression changed as he called out in surprise, "He came back!" Zhong-Ao felt a life aura rapidly and unscrupulously approaching. On Rainfall Star, no one except Xianxia would act like this. Even Lin Mufeng and Hali Ka wouldn't dare. Zhong-Ao swiftly ended what he was doing, not even caring about if he successfully refined the pill he was working on. A moment later, Xianxia walked in. Narrowing his eyes, Zhong-Ao couldn't help feeling startled, swallowing back down the words he was about to say. He had originally wanted to comfort Xianxia, making him not shrink back in the face of death. But from what he could see, this boy was actually smiling right now, and his aura was filled with a certain feeling. Zhong-Ao had to stare at Xianxia for a while before he was able to determine that this feeling was confidence. Gently shaking his head, Zhong-Ao wore a smile and asked, "Did you find a solution?" "No," Xianxia answered happily. "If you haven't found a solution, why are you so happy?" Zhong-Ao was even more confused. "Can't I be happy without finding it?" Xianxia asked back. "Although I didn't find a solution, I think I should be able to succeed." "And why is that?" Zhong-Ao was completely confused by Xianxia's seemingly contradictory words. Since he hadn't found a feasible method, how could he succeed? Grabbing Xianxia's arm, Zhong-Ao shouted, "Speak clearly." "Saying it won't make it clear. Just watch and see if I can refine pill clouds this time." Xianxia broke free from his iron grip and straightened his shirt. Zhong-Ao didn't say anything more, converging his aura and standing back to observe Xianxia's movement. Actually, what Zhong-Ao most wanted to know was why, if Xianxia and that little girl's lives were linked together by the soul chains, he didn't just go to and ask Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's honored guest elder to unlock them. That way, even if the little girl died, he wouldn't have to. Even if he left now, there was still plenty of time to do this. However, he thought that since Xianxia hadn't done so, there must be some reason it was inconvenient for him to travel to Water Moon Star. Zhong-Ao wasn't interested in probing into this matter too much. While Zhong Ao was pondering these issues, Yang Kai had sat down cross-legged sitting in front of his commonly used pill furnace. Next, Zhong Ao saw Yang Kai take out a pile of herbs from his space ring, and upon closer inspection, Zhong Ao found that these herbs were the ones sent by Hali Ka to refine the burning flame pill. The remaining nearly 200 batches of herbs were all piled up into a great mountain. After all the herbs were taken out, he saw Yang Kai pick out a single set of materials from the pile. In the next instant, a ball of demonic flame shot out from Yang Kai's hand, engulfing the mountain of herbs, reducing all these Saint King-grade materials to ash. Zhong Ao's eyes widened instantly, and a shocked expression appeared on his face. He never expected that Yang Kai would make such an insane move. Burning one's boat. This kid had burnt down the remaining 200 sets of materials, leaving only one, which meant he now had only one's chance to succeed. How could this be anything but burning one's boat? Did he want to use this great pressure to squeeze out his maximum potential? Zhong Ao shook his head slowly, a look of disappointment appearing on his face. For cultivators, whether it was in cultivation or in battle, using this kind of method could indeed inspire one to break through their limits and achieve success in something they would normally find impossible. However, it was a fatal mistake to apply this method to alchemy. By burning one's boat, the pressure one would give themselves would be 1,000 times than usual. But what alchemy required most was a stable state of mind. It simply wasn't suitable to use this kind of desperation tactic. If Yang Kai really was attempting to burn his boat, then Zhong Ao could conclude that he may not even be able to refine a pill which formed pill veins. In his disappointment, though, Zhong Ao looked towards Yang Kai's face, and was stunned to see that the latter didn't show any signs of pressure. Yang Kai simply sat there with a relaxed expression and not a trace of worry, his self-confidence not disappearing because of the destruction of the last 200 sets of herbs, but instead growing more intense. Zhong Ao saw where this confidence came from. In this moment, Yang Kai simply believed there was no way he could fail. Zhong Ao was slightly lost. Was this boy really so confident he could achieve his goal with this last set of materials? Where did this sudden, unwavering faith come from? Zhong Ao sat quietly, paying close attention to this scene. Like with the previous burning flame pills, Yang Kai proceeded meticulously and with great precision, portraying the spirit arrays, condensing the medicinal liquids, grasping the timing to add different herbs, changing spirit arrays. Yang Kai seemed to be just repeating what he had done these past 6 months. But faintly, Zhong Ao felt that this time's alchemy was very different. The same process and movements were somehow giving him a new and refreshing feeling. Seemingly infected by Yang Kai's skillful display and confident aura, Zhong Ao couldn't help but also believe that Yang Kai could accomplish this incredible feat. Zhong Ao's eyes widened even more as he waited for the moment when this pill cloud's pill was finally formed. Time passed slowly, and Zhong Ao's mood grew tenser and tenser, his fists clenching unconsciously. Despite his great strength, Zhong Ao currently felt as if he was suffering endless years of torment, wishing he could leap into the future to see the end result. On the other hand, Yang Kai had always maintained a kind of indifferent attitude. Besides the swimming medicinal liquids inside the pill furnace, there seemed to be nothing else in his entire world. That Saint Realm cultivator who fought fiercely with blue-eyed flame dragon was able to emerge victorious not because of his strength, but because of his momentum. He was sure he could win because he knew that if he didn't win, he would die. So he won, although in the end he had almost perished together with the blue-eyed flame dragon. From that battle, Yang Kai was inspired, so he had saved the young man's life. During these past 6 months, the numerous alchemy failures had done nothing but increase the pressure Yang Kai felt, making him worry about what would happen if he failed to refine a pill that formed pill clouds. With all these distracting thoughts, being able to refine a pill with pill clouds was a dream. But now, Yang Kai had no such thoughts. He had burned the nearly 200 remaining batches of herbs not to push himself into an all-or-nothing situation, but instead to strengthen his convictions and faith. He did not waver before this challenge, only becoming more and more confident. Inside the pill room, the only sound that could be heard was the subtle tumbling of the medicinal liquids. Zhong Ao hid himself completely to avoid disturbing Yang Kai, even suppressing his breathing and heartbeat, as if he was a dead man. All of Zhong Ao's attention was focused on the pill furnace and the young figure sitting in front of it. When the refinement reached the halfway mark, the various medicinal liquids began blending with one another under the influence of Yang Kai's conflagrated knowledge C and the numerous spirit arrays, undergoing fundamentals and wondrous changes. Zhong Ao had a premonition. This time, Yang Kai would at least be able to produce pill veins. This kind of strange intuition had never appeared before. Zhong Ao had been observing and emulating Yang Kai's alchemy process for half a year now, and although the probability of him refining pills that formed pill veins was quite high, there was a higher chance Yang Kai would fail and only be able to obtain an ordinary burning flame pill. Yet all this time, there had never been an occasion where Zhong Ao was certain Yang Kai would be able to produce pill veins. How could this be, though? Zhong Ao was thoroughly shocked and began observing Yang Kai's movements even more cautiously, not willing to miss a single detail. However, as far as he could tell, Yang Kai's actions were the same as before, without a single change. Even the spirit arrays that he portrayed over 1,000 times until now were the same. Zhong Ao could close his eyes and still know exactly what step Yang Kai would take next and what spirit array he would portray. The only difference Zhong Ao could find this time was Yang Kai's aura, which was filled with confidence. It was this unparalleled momentum that affected Zhong Ao's judgment, making him certain that the pill currently being refined would be able to form pill veins. Could pill clouds be created, though? There was only one chance for success now, so Zhong Ao couldn't wait to know the final answer. Zhong Ao couldn't help admiring Yang Kai because if he were in his place, he would definitely be feeling stressed and anxious, and once that happened, he wouldn't be able to wholeheartedly concentrate on alchemy, inevitably leading to failure. Yet Yang Kai didn't show any such signs, remaining completely indifferent, as if he was refining an ordinary, insignificant pill. His movements calm and meticulous, utilizing his skills to their utmost limit. As time passed, Zhong Ao grew more and more anxious. A faint pill scent gradually began floating about the pill room, which was a sign that the pill would soon be formed. Yang Kai's expression seemed to have become more solemn. Every time a pill was about to be formed, he would become extraordinarily cautious. The spiritual energy flowing from his conflagrated knowledge C would be strong at times, then weak at others, exquisitely portraying the different spirit arrays inside the pill furnace. Yang Kai's mind and heart were perfectly clear, without the slightest hint of distraction, even forgetting about the pill furnace in front of him and the pill that would soon be formed. He suddenly thought back to the pill he found which had formed pill clouds. That pill was the one he had found together with the Holy Land Saintess and Linger in the underwater ancient ruins. Although Yang Kai had eventually swallowed that pill, its huge medicinal efficacy allowing the 5-colored soul-warming lotus to transform into its 6-colored variant. Before then, he had spent a fair amount of time studying it, trying to gain some inspiration from the pill clouds. At this moment, all kinds of memories flashed across Yang Kai's mind and he vaguely managed to grasp the key point. The clouds which obscured his view suddenly parted and his eyes widened, a brilliantly light flashing across them. When the final composite spirit array was portrayed and sent into the pill furnace, Yang Kai's conflagrated knowledge C's full strength burst out, engraving this set of spirit arrays into the pill which had yet to fully form. Suddenly, as if the floodgates in his body had opened wide, Yang Kai's Saint Qi and spiritual energy all flowed out at once, his meridians and dantian emptying out repeatedly as his knowledge C dried out in an instant. Yang Kai's vision dimmed and he felt like he was on the verge of passing out. At that instant, Yang Kai felt as if his life force was being drawn out and that he would die in the next moment. A thick pill fragrance burst from the pill furnace, one that dwarfed any which was released from the 1800 burning flame pills Yang Kai had previously refined. A crisp, delightful sound came out from the pill furnace. Yang Kai smiled widely as he stiffly sat in place. Zhong Ao's heart nearly leapt out of his chest. How could he not see the extraordinariness of the pill which would momentarily take shape inside Yang Kai's pill furnace? He thought Yang Kai had succeeded. Waiting for a while though, Yang Kai didn't move. Zhong Ao whispered a few words but received no response. After a few attempts to raise his attention, Zhong Ao stepped forward cautiously and quietly released his divine sense, a startled expression soon filling his face. Yang Kai's face had lost all color, as if he had just fought against a powerful enemy. His aura was erratic, and his vitality was weak to the extreme. He had closed his eyes and passed out, but at the very least, he was not dead. As long as Yang Kai had a few days of rest, he could recover. Ignoring Yang Kai, Zhong Ao's trembling hand patted the pill furnace in front of him, causing a pill to fly out and land in a prepared jade bottle. Taking a deep breath, Zhong Ao peered into the jade bottle. But after a glance, Zhong Ao couldn't help showing a look of disappointment. The surface of the burning flame pill in the jade bottle was clear and smooth. Forget about pill clouds, there wasn't even any pill veins. He failed. Zhong Ao's expression was complicated. The momentum Yang Kai displayed just now while he was performing alchemy made Zhong Ao certain this boy would succeed. Never had he expected the actual final result would be so bleak. When Yang Kai woke up and found that the last burning flame pill he refined with such painstaking effort was just an ordinary pill, he would likely faint again. Zhong Ao sighed with pain. He had lived for many years and knew that sometimes there was a huge gap between expectations and results. He too had felt the ruthlessness of having his dreams torn asunder by the thorns of reality. Yang Kai was still just a young man, so it wasn't surprising for him to have to face such experiences again and again, but after failing to refine pill clouds and refusing to travel to Water Moonstar for help, it seemed his death would soon be upon him. Zhong Ao can't help but feeling somewhat depressed. During this past year, Zhong Ao had clearly realized Yang Kai's talent in the field of alchemy and truly did not wish for him to die so young. Zhong Ao even began to think of ways to comfort and advise Yang Kai after he woke up. At such a time, what this young boy would need most was comfort and encouragement. While thinking about this though, Zhong Ao's expression suddenly changed again. He noticed that the flow of the surrounding world energy had become somewhat strange. Releasing his divine sense, Zhong Ao soon let out a panic-stricken shout. Zhong Ao didn't know how or why, but a massive amount of world energy was currently gathering towards this place. This movement was even more extreme than when Yang Kai had been crazily cultivating before, almost as if a great dragon was forming in the skies above his head. A huge attraction suddenly came out of the jade bottle in Zhong Ao's hand, and the burning flame pill which had just come out from the furnace seemed to come alive, thrashing against the sides of the jade bottle as if trying to escape. The world energy dragon soaring through the sky dived down and smashed into the palace where Zhong Ao had lived for the past 100 years. A loud bang rang out and half the palace instantly collapsed, with several dozen of its rooms exploding outwards. Various bits of debris smashed into and bounced off of Zhong Ao's St. Chi guard. The waterfall of world energy, which was visible to the naked eye, all poured into the jade bottle, causing it burst into dust. Zhong Ao's eyes widened as he clearly saw the small burning flame pill suck in and devour this torrent of world energy like a bottomless abyss, causing its energy aura to rapidly inflate. The howling winds and storm of dust obscured Zhong Ao's hearing and vision. Through the occasional gaps in the storm, Zhong Ao was able to see his thousands of acres of medicine gardens and many rare herbs ripped to shreds and scattered about. His face twitched and his heart bled. These herbs were cultivated by him personally, and each strain was infused with his own sweat and blood. Yet now, as this world energy storm swept over his precious medicine gardens, many herbs were directly uprooted while the rest were severely damaged. Fuck! Zhong Ao's old face distorted with rage, and he couldn't stop himself from howling, hurriedly waving his hands at the whipping winds, but finding himself incapable of stopping this disaster. After half an hour, calm returned. Among the broken walls, Yang Kai was still sitting cross-legged, the dozens of pill furnaces in front of him also intact, even remaining in their original positions. But Zhong Ao's palace had now completely collapsed and the comatose Shui had been buried in the rubble. Zhong Ao didn't give a thought to the little sleeping girl as he tightly gripped a new jade bottle in his hand and stared out across his vast medicine gardens in despair, his face twitching uncontrollably. The thousands of acres of medicine gardens had all suffered catastrophic damage, with next to nothing remaining intact. 90% of the once thriving herbs had been destroyed, while the remaining 10% had been severely damaged, their vitality flickering like candles in the wind. The leaves of his dozens of heavenly yang fruit trees had been stripped clear, leaving only bare branches. These heavenly yang fruit trees wouldn't recover for at least 10 years. His half-acre of sparrow lotus flowers had disappeared without a trance, and the heavenly power storm had even dug into the land, scraping off nearly a meter worth of precious soil. Where are this old master's 1,000-petal flowers go? Zhong Ao turned his eyes about weakly, but when he looked towards where the 1,000-petal flowers, which he regarded to be as precious as his own life, were supposed to be, he only saw some half-shredded root hairs. Zhong Ao's eyes rolled back and he nearly fainted. Without even mentioning the loss of his medicine garden's precious herbs, Zhong Ao was shocked to discover that the massive spirit array he had spent countless years perfecting inside this mountain valley had also been destroyed and can no longer play any role. Within a 1,000-kilometer radius, the world energy aura had been completely hollowed out. The sound of clothes swishing came from afar as Hali Ka, Lin Mufeng, and the middle-aged woman led various the masters from the Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce branch over. When the shocking heavenly force had appeared here, they were naturally startled, and not knowing what happened, they quickly came to investigate. After they got a look at the now unrecognizable scene, all of them were stunned, unable to believe their eyes for quite a while. They didn't know what kind of disaster had struck this mountain valley, but what was certain was Zhong Ao's palace had been destroyed and his thousands of acres of medicine gardens and profound spirit array no longer existed. Zhong Ao himself seemed like his soul had been pulled out as he sat helplessly on the ground, dust covering his robes as flames seemed to rage within his eyes. Nearby, Yang Kai sat cross-legged in front of several dozen pill furnaces amidst a mess of broken walls, remaining motionless even now. What happened? Hali Ka and the others were dumbfounded. This was the highest-level restricted area on Rainfall Star. No one dared to even approach it without authorization, so none of these new arrivals could understand how it had suddenly been destroyed. Exchanging a few confused glances, the Hong Luo Chamber of Commerce masters summoned their courage and flew down to where Zhong Ao was sitting, with Hali Ka calling out hesitantly, "Grandmaster Zhong, what happened here?" Lin Mufeng even shouted indignantly, "Did some bold bastard dare to intrude and cause trouble? Grandmaster Zhong need only say the word, and we will definitely exact revenge for you." The middle-aged woman also nodded firmly, her eyes flashing a thick murderous intent. Zhong Ao raised his head creakily, staring at them blankly for a moment before suddenly jumping up and pointing towards Yang Kai's direction while fiercely screaming. "It was this little bastard that ruined my medicine gardens and exploded my palace. The precious herbs this old master spent 100 years cultivating have all been ruined, and now I don't even have a home. If you really want to exact revenge for this old master, then kill him for me." Spittle sprayed out and rained down on the three executives' faces, yet none of them dared to move, their expressions contorting as they stood there. After a long time, Hali Ka wore an ugly smile and appeased, "Grandmaster Zhong, please calm yourself. What really happened? Weren't you refining a pill to treat Lady Schwer's condition? When I last came here, everything seemed fine. How did all of this happen after only a few months?" He could also see that despite the thunderous voice Zhong Ao was shouting in, he was only venting his anger and not actually serious in killing Yang Kai. Yang Kai was sitting in meditation at the moment, his aura and appearing extremely weak. If Zhong Ao really wanted his life, why would he need to borrow their hands? Even if Yang Kai was at his peak, it would be impossible for him to fight Zhong Ao, let alone now. Who told you that this old master was refining such a pill? Zhong Ao gave them a sideways glance. Could it be that Grandmaster wasn't the one refining it, but rather little brother Yang? Lin Mufeng laughed dryly. Zhong Ao rolled his eyes and didn't explain. He knew that even if he were to tell them to the truth, they wouldn't believe him. In fact, if he hadn't seen this ridiculous scene with his own eyes but instead heard about it from someone else, Zhong Ao would have dismissed such a tale as nonsense. However, the pill inside the jade bottle he was gripping was evidence that all this was real. This little boy whose true cultivation only reached the Third Order Saint Realm had really done all this. "Go away, Scram!" Zhong Ao waved impatiently. This old master spent 100 calm and stable years in this place, yet it only took one little brat a few months to blast everything apart. If any one of you dares to approach within 100 kilometers of this place in the future, This old master will twist your heads." The 3 origin returning realm masters couldn't help shrinking their necks while hurriedly withdrawing, none of them daring to remain. However, before they could go too far, Zhong Ao's voice rang out again. "Wait!" Hali Ka turned around, smiling helplessly. "Does Grandmaster Zhong still have something he wishes to say?" Zhong Ao pointed to the dilapidated palace and snorted. "Find some people to build this old master a place to stay. A bunch of blind fools. Do you want this old master to sleep outdoors tonight?" Hali Ka nodded quickly and assigned a dozen of the cultivators who had come with the 3 executives to build a temporary house for Zhong Ao before taking his leave. A dozen cultivators swiftly flew off, seemingly going to search for materials to build a small palace. Zhong Ao glanced over at Yang Kai, who was still in a coma, then turned to look at the jade bottle which held the burning flame pill, a faint look of dejection filling his face. After 3 full days, Yang Kai finally woke up. A strong sense of weakness spread from all parts of his body, causing Yang Kai to freeze up for a moment, but soon he remembered everything from before he slipped into a coma. His knowledge sea was still a bit dry, the magnificent ocean which once covered it not reduced to a thin layer of water. The 6-colored soul-warming lotus was sparing no effort to make up for this loss, but it would take at least another 10 days for Yang Kai's knowledge sea to fill up again. Every muscle in his body was sore, and the amount of Saint Chi he had consumed was not small. Yang Kai had never experienced this kind of feeling before. He had suffered great injuries before, but this time he was completely unfounded. His current state could only be described as one of extreme weakness, as if his vitality had been sucked dry, making Yang Kai feel as if he had aged. Standing up with great difficulty, Yang Kai looked around and quickly saw Zhong Ao standing nearby, glaring angrily towards him, his old face filled with gloom and a raging fire burning in his eyes. Yang Kai drew in a cold breath, wondering why Zhong Ao was wearing such a horrible look. However, after taking a look around, he immediately understood. Without broaching the subject, Yang Kai sifted through the ruins for a while, pulled Shuiyu out from under a few planks, then found a comfortable place a few kilometers away to lay her down. Before he could catch his breath, though, Zhong Ao silently appeared beside him. Yang Kai looked at him, but didn't say a word, instead just panting for breath. "You're not going to ask if you succeeded or not?" Zhong Ao waited for a while before he couldn't help himself from asking. "I put forth the greatest effort I could. That's enough." Zhong Ao stared deeply at him for a moment before nodding lightly. "Good. This old master won't hold you accountable for the loss this time. In any case, he could just go ask Hali Ka and his bunch to compensate him for this loss. They wouldn't dare say no." Saying so, he threw a jade bottle he had been holding this entire time over to Yang Kai. Yang Kai caught it and glanced at it without much surprise or excitement, everything seemingly within his expectations. Inside the jade bottle, there was a single pill which was covered in a fine layer of misty clouds, and even though the jade bottle was partially blocking them, the energy fluctuations coming from this pill were incredibly strong. It was pulsing regularly, seemingly having a life of its own. Pill clouds, it was a burning flame pill which had formed pill clouds. Although it was technically just a Saint King grade low-rank pill that did not diminish its value or significance, if any outstanding alchemists were to hear about it, they would likely go all out to acquire it. They could obtain a great deal of insight and information from these pill clouds, possibly allowing them to further their alchemy skills. As Yang Kai observed this pill, Zhong Ao briefly explained what happened after he fell unconscious before casually saying, "The pill clouds surrounding this pill are different from the ones this old master managed to refine." "Different how?" Yang Kai asked curiously. Zhong Ao tossed 4 other jade bottles over to Yang Kai, each one containing a single pill. These 4 pills had been refined by Zhong Ao over the past 100 years, each one the result of incredibly good luck. After comparing them to the burning flame pill he just refined, though, Yang Kai was immediately able to discover the biggest difference. The pill clouds of the pills Zhong Ao refined were very sparse, not even completely enshrouding the pill's surface. There was even one that only had half its surface covered. In addition, Yang Kai could clearly feel that the medicinal efficacy and energy contained within his burning flame pill was more than twice as strong as those of Zhong Ao's. Zhong Ao suddenly took out a piece of Saint Crystal and placed it in Yang Kai's hand. Immediately, the energy inside this piece of Saint Crystal was slowly drawn out and absorbed by the pill clouds, further enhancing its efficacy. Pills that form pill veins have their medicinal efficacies doubled and can be stored indefinitely without their potency falling, different from ordinary pills which will slowly lose their efficacy over time. After 300 or 400 years, most pills will become completely useless. Once pill clouds appear on a pill, though, not only can they be preserved for an unlimited amount of time, along with the passing years, the pill clouds will also actively absorb the surrounding world energy to nourish the pill, allowing its medicinal efficacies to become richer and richer. As such, for a pill that forms pill clouds, the longer it is stored, the stronger its effects will be. Zhong Ao said, seemingly talking to himself. Yang Kai nodded, understanding all this well. When he swallowed that ancient pill which had formed pill clouds, he had nearly exploded as it had been accumulating energy for thousands of years. This old master inadvertently refined this pill 90 years ago, Zhong Ao said while picking up one of the jade bottles he had tossed to Yang Kai. Inside this bottle was a brown pill. After 90 years of nourishment, the efficacy has more than doubled, and its grade was also Saint King grade mid-rank. But compared to the burning flame pill you refined a few days ago, it still falls far short. It's probably because of the difference in density of the pill clouds, Yang Kai said thoughtfully. This old master came to the same conclusion. Zhong Ao gently nodded. This old master used to think that pill clouds were all like this, but after seeing your burning flame pill, this old master now knows that pill clouds can be more complete, covering the entire pill. On top of that, your pill absorbs energy at a far faster rate than this old master's. If it were to be placed in storage for a few hundred years, it would likely become as valuable as an entire star. That's not possible, is it? Yang Kai was startled, thinking Zhong Ao was exaggerating a bit too much. How could it not be possible? Zhong Ao sneered. Do you know how many Origin returning realms spend their entire lives struggling yet failing to break through to the Origin King realm? Do you know how many Origin King realm masters spend their entire lives failing to break through to the next minor realm? If this burning flame pill was set aside for a few hundreds of years, it may be possible for an Origin King realm master who cultivates a fire attribute secret art to break through to the next minor realm. Do you think they'd not be willing to trade an entire star for it? After hearing what he said, Yang Kai really thought it was possible, although he still felt it was a bit overblown. Are you really willing to feed this treasure to this little girl? Zhong Ao glanced back and forth between Yang Kai and Xueyu solemnly. My life is about to expire. Why wouldn't I feed it to her? Yang Kai laughed. After investing so much time and effort to refine this burning flame pill, how could he not feed it to Xueyu? Zhong Ao's face twitched slightly, seemingly wanting to say something, but eventually, he managed to choke his words back down and wave his hand. Forget it, you were the one who refined this pill, so what you do with it is your decision. However, you have to tell this old master, how were you able to produce these pill clouds? I don't know. Yang Kai shook his head. Zhong Ao almost spat blood. Yang Kai really didn't know how he managed to produce pill clouds. When he was refining this last burning flame pill, he had no distracting thoughts. Nor did he feel any kind of pressure. He simply believed he would be successful. When he finished the refinement, though, Yang Kai clearly felt that a great deal of his vitality had been stripped away, leading to his current state of weakness. In fact, had it not been for Yang Kai's demon god golden blood, making his vitality incredibly rich, this massive drainage would have killed him on the spot. This burning flame pill wasn't anything like a pill at all. It was closer to a living creature. That was also why it was so full of life and energy, startling Zhong Ao greatly. Although he had managed to succeed once, if Yang Kai was due another refinement now, he wouldn't be able to succeed, because he had lost that indescribable sense of confidence and momentum. After explaining his thoughts to Zhong Ao in order to alleviate his emotional damage, the old man comforted himself by thinking all of this was due to Yang Kai entering some kind of ethereal state of enlightenment, allowing him to produce pill clouds. Hundreds of years pursuing the alchemic way, yet finding himself inferior to a less than 30 years old junior made Zhong Ao feel like he had simply lived in vain, sending him in a spiral of shame and resentment. Fortunately, though, his will was tough and he had many more years to live, there was plenty of time for Zhong Ao to continue studying alchemy. Inside a palace at Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's branch, Yang Kai set Shui Yu down and fed her the burning flame pill. After making sure her vitality had stabilized, Yang Kai left her room. After turning a few corners, Yang Kai saw Hali Ka, Lin Mufeng, and a number of others crowding around Zhong Ao, praising and flattering him without end, extolling Zhong Ao's extraordinary skills and methods which had even allowed him to refine the legendary pill clouds, sincerely admiring him. Some even going so far as to say the top-ranked Origin King grade alchemists in the star field couldn't accomplish such a feat, saying that all of them were just a crowd of fame-seeking impostors who couldn't compare to Zhong Ao. Zhong Ao's old face blushed bright redness as he withstood this barrage of flattery, wishing he could kick all these people out but lacking the energy to do so, only able to silently endure it. Hali Ka, Lin Mufeng, and the others in this group of blind idiots only felt Zhong Ao wasn't happy with their insufficient praise and began flattering him even more, causing the old man's complexion to grow even worse. Only after Yang Kai walked out did this group cease their unending stream of praise and shoot him a strange look. Hali Ka even quietly gave him a big thumbs up with a look of admiration before patting Lin Mufeng's shoulder heartily and quickly departing. The backs of these two straightening up much, as if a great weight had just been lifted from their shoulders. Yang Kai walked over to Zhong Ao with a confused look, wondering what they all meant when they shot him those looks. Boy, are you really willing to hand such huge benefits over to this old master? You successfully refined a pill which formed pill clouds and are able to consistently produce pill veins at a rate of 30 to 40%. With such skill, you can become one of Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's most honored guests, and no one would dare to provoke you. You would be able to own your own territory, with as many servants and beauties as you want. You'd be able to enjoy the highest standards of treatment with things others would need to spend their entire lives fighting for at your fingertips. Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce would also go all out to cultivate you, allowing you to reach the highest heights in the shortest amount of time. This old master can't figure out why you didn't tell them that burning flame pill was refined by you, and instead handed this undeserved credit over to this old master. Zhong Ao said slowly, picking up his cup of tea and taking a small sip. Hali Ka, Lin Mufeng, and everyone else all thought that the burning flame pill which had formed pill clouds was refined by Zhong Ao, because Yang Kai had told them that was the case from the beginning, and even now Zhong Ao had not corrected the record, causing all of them to be even more convinced this was the truth. That was why they were all showering Zhong Ao in compliments. Yang Kai sat next to him, picked up the pot of tea and poured himself a cup, taking a sip before letting out a chuckle. Old Zhong, don't feign ignorance. The tall tree is the first to be knocked over by the wind. This junior understands this concept very well. This junior is less than 30 years old today, and although I have some small methods, my cultivation is still too low. Such great benefits are not something I can withstand. Only an established and respected grandmaster like Old Zhong can enjoy such a reputation. Do you believe that if both you and I were to take a burning flame pill which formed pill clouds to President AIO, our treatment will be completely different? You will receive even greater respect and President AIO will only become more courteous to you, perhaps even granting you dominion over an entire medicine star. But I would immediately be put under strict supervision, with numerous masters constantly watching me, never allowing me to take a single step out of my room while forcing me to refine pills every day. Perhaps even when they send some beautiful women for me to play with, those masters will continue peeping on me. Ha 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 ha! Zhong Ao heard Yang Kai's words and couldn't help laughing, imagining such a funny scene with a big smile as he nodded. Kid, your thoughts are quite sharp. Such merits are really not easy to handle. I really wonder how many great storms you've had to pass through in order to develop such keen insight at your age. Without such insights, this junior would have died already. Yang Kai shrugged. And you're right, the tallest tree is the first to be destroyed by the strong winds. Good, this old master will shoulder these benefits and reputation for you. In any case, this old master's alchemy skills have indeed risen a lot. Such advantages aren't completely undeserved. Yang Kai's eyes lit up as he quickly got to his feet and cupped his fists. Congratulations, Old Zhong. This junior has been so absorbed in refining burning flame pills during this time that he failed to realize Old Zhong had taken a step further along the alchemic way. After offering his congratulations, Yang Kai sat down again, a touch of worry appearing in his expression as he continued. But old Zong, if you do this, you may not be able to resist joining Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce. They used to indulge you in your pursuits, but they likely won't now. If my guess is right, Hali Ka, Lin Mufeng, and the others will have reported this event to Water Moon Star, and it won't be long before a real executive from Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce's headquarters comes to speak with you. This old master naturally understands. Zong Ao nodded. This old master has already lived on Rainfall Star for 100 years, so as long as they don't interfere with my alchemy, everything can be discussed. Whether I join them or not is just a formality. If they dare to annoy this old master, can't this old master simply leave? Yang Kai couldn't help feeling a bit guilty. Zong Ao couldn't be regarded as a virtuous person. He had a strange temperament and his own sense of arrogance. Yang Kai also knew that he had directed murderous intent towards himself at least 3 times before. But regardless of all this, Zong Ao had agreed to carry this undeserved credit for him. And although it would greatly enhance the old man's reputation, that wasn't something Zong Ao wanted. Truly capable people don't care about their reputation. Only those who seek for power and wealth dedicate themselves to climbing the social ladder. After this time, Zong Ao would lose a lot of his personal, but perhaps he simply considered this repayment for Yang Kai showing him the path forward in the alchemic way. Both Yang Kai and Zong Ao understood these things well. What's the situation with that little girl? Zong Ao obviously didn't want to talk about this anymore and quickly changed the subject. The negative effects of her exposure to the profound in sunflower water should have been removed completely, and her vitality is stable, but she's still in a coma. To wake her up, I need to find a way to revive her soul avatar, Yang Kai said with a frown. He had just checked Shui Yu's knowledge sea again, but even after searching around for a while, he was unable to locate her soul avatar. He really didn't know where it had hidden. Zong Ao also frowned and said, in principle, exposure to profound in sunflower water cannot cause this situation. Her soul avatar going missing must be related to something else. Yang Kai was shocked and quickly asked, please offer me your guidance, old Zong. Zong Ao unfortunately just shook his head. I don't know anything about this little girl, so what guidance can I provide you? Since you are her guard, you should understand whether she has any kind of deep-seated regrets in her heart. Sometimes, when a person falls into an unconscious state and cannot be awoken, it is not because of physical injuries, but rather because of some kind of heart knot. As long as she can overcome this barrier, she will naturally be able to awaken. After hearing these words, Yang Kai wore a thoughtful look on his face, his eyes slowly growing brighter, as if he had discovered something. Zong Ao noticed this change and nodded lightly. This kid was a worldly person with incredible skills. Zong Ao really didn't understand why he would choose to become another's guard. Sometime later, Yang Kai's look suddenly became relaxed. Figured it out? Zong Ao asked with a smile. I have some ideas, whether they're right or not we'll have to wait until I can verify them. Yang Kai chuckled, suddenly remembering something and asking, by the way, when I came here, Hali Ka and the others all gave me a strange look. What was that all about? Want to know? Zong Ao gave him a meaningful glance. Yang Kai nodded. This old master just told them that you're deeply in love with that little girl, and when she needed to take those pills you fed it to her mouth to mouth. Zong Ao said lightly, as if it was just an innocent comment. Yang Kai, on the other hand, was furious. Don't you feel embarrassed to publicize such things? Don't you have any kind of moral standards? Zong Ao snorted. This old master has taken on such a heavy burden for you and lost so many good things to you. You think I'll just let you off for free? Just you wait. Shui Yu third young master will charge over to Rainfall Star, peel your skin, and crush your bones. Ha ha ha, to think a little guard actually dares to have ideas about Shui Yu's woman. I really don't know if you care about your life or not. If I were you, I'd leave here as quickly as possible. Laughing loudly, Zong Ao strode off in a good mood. Old fart. Yang Kai stared at Zong Ao with resentment, immediately realizing why Hali Ka and the others had shot him such a strange look. Yang Kai was annoyed to no end that he hadn't bet even bigger with Zong Ao. asking for all of his profound in sunflower water and pill furnaces. There were no good people amongst these old bastards. This was true of Guizhou and Zhong Ao. However, no matter how Zhong Ao thought about it, he wouldn't have been able to imagine that this Lady Xuer was actually Xueyu himself. You think kissing Xueyu's woman is something to worry about? Father here has seen and touched everything Xueyu's body has to offer. Zhong Ao was right about one thing though. Yang Kai couldn't remain here for long. There was no way to tell how Water Moon Star would respond after learning about Xueyu's situation, and if some top-level executive were to come to investigate, it would be incredibly difficult for him to explain. Xueyu also didn't want to expose her biggest secret. Right now, Yang Kai had to hurry to restore her consciousness, lift the fetters of the soul chains, then soar off into the sky to disappear. For the next half a month, Yang Kai received very generous treatment as he recovered his strength. Every day, inside his luxurious guest palace, the very best food and wine, as well as rare spirit fruits were provided to him, allowing him to slowly restore his lost vitality and rid himself of the crippling sense of weakness. Yang Kai secretly decided that he would never attempt to refine pill clouds again unless absolutely necessary. If his luck was good and while performing alchemy he inadvertently refined a pill that formed pill clouds, then that was fine, but he never wanted to purposely generate them again. The consumption cost was simply too great. Halika sent a few dozen masters to build a grand palace for Zhong Ao in his mountain valley, finishing the construction in short order. However, Zhong Ao didn't go back immediately, because the world energy in the mountain valley was still too thin and it would be some time before it recovered to even the average level of the rest of Rainfall Star. The news that he had refined a burning flame pill which formed pill clouds spread like wildfire, and every alchemist on the Rainfall Star made a special pilgrimage to pay him their respects. Since these people were in a sense his colleagues, Zhong Ao couldn't just send them away. So he spent many days suffering from their incessant flattery and praise, not having a moment of free time to himself for quite a while. Whenever he saw this scene, Yang Kai secretly rejoiced about his decision. If the merit of refining pill clouds were to be assigned to him, such a harmonious scene would never have appeared. Instead, these old men and women would only be trying to make things difficult for him, using any method they could to verify he wasn't cheating or lying to them. None of them would admit to being inferior to Yang Kai. That would be too great an insult to them. Inside a separate room, Yang Kai sat cross-legged on the bed next to the still sleeping Xueyu. Staring at her enchanting face, Yang Kai really didn't want to wake her up. The sleeping Xue was the easiest to get along with. He could do whatever he liked to her and she wouldn't put up any resistance or make any complaints. But once she woke up, it would only bring Yang Kai endless trouble and danger. But Yang Kai had to wake her up. Lifting the soul chain's fetters required both of them to agree. Currently, Xueyu's soul avatar was nowhere to be seen, and without her cooperation, Yang Kai couldn't break free of this burden. Sending out his spiritual energy, Yang Kai dived silently into Xueyu's knowledge sea. The next moment, Yang Kai's soul avatar appeared over Xueyu's knowledge sea. This was not the first time Yang Kai had entered Xueyu's knowledge sea. He had visited here before to examine her condition, but at that time, he hadn't looked around carefully. At any time, investigating another's knowledge sea was a taboo among cultivators. It was something only those who shared the most intimate of relationships would do. One's knowledge sea contained all the experiences and secrets of a person's life. Searching through someone's knowledge sea was worse than stripping away their clothes and groping around their body. Last time, Yang Kai had used discretion and did not probe into Xueyu's secret too deeply. He didn't want to have too much entanglement with this woman. But this time, he no longer had a choice. The sea breeze blew gently and the waters themselves were calm. Aside from a vast ocean, there was nothing else inside Xueyu's knowledge sea. Unlike the colorfulness of his own knowledge sea, one's knowledge sea was the greatest reflection of a person's experiences and personality. So it was quite clear that Xueyu led something of a desolate and dull life. Xueyu was a woman, but she was raised by Ao as a man. She may have had the prestige and style of Xueyu third young master, but she was surely tired of that by now and simply supporting herself with willpower alone. It's not that I want to spy on your secrets, but I can't wake you up if I don't do this. Don't hold it against me in the future. Yang Kai murmured softly, his soul avatar diving into the ocean in Xueyu's knowledge sea in the next moment. The warm seawater wrapped Yang Kai's body like the finest of silk, giving him an unimaginable excitement and comfort. Yang Kai almost lost himself in this feeling for a moment. The blending of souls was a terrifying experience that allowed a man and woman to enjoy a sensation 1,000 times more joyful than a mere physical union. It was like sharing the deepest part of oneself with another, resulting in a sense of euphoria that was difficult to extricate oneself from. Fortunately, this was not Yang Kai's first time doing this kind of thing. When he went to Ice Sect to find Su Yan, he had blended souls with her once, so he had some experience dealing with this kind of overwhelming sensation. Struggling to restrain the innate desires welling up in his soul, Yang Kai constantly called out in his head to remind himself of his original purpose. This was no time to simply seek pleasure. Gradually, the euphoric joy faded and Yang Kai managed to regain control of his soul avatar, allowing him to breathe slightly easier. He didn't know why, but his current set of actions and situation made Yang Kai feel as if he was violating Xueyu. Xueyu was unable to sense anything right now, and with her soul avatar missing, she also couldn't put up any kind of resistance to Yang Kai's divine sense intrusion. How is this any different from him raping her? And the most vicious type of rape at that. A woman who had no soul avatar was no different from a doll. Thinking so, Yang Kai's sense of fascination instantly faded away. This kind of one-sided action was something only those who had twisted psychology would enjoy. Yang Kai quickly spread out his soul avatar's senses through this ocean. Inside Xueyu's knowledge sea were an incredible number of bubbles that seemed to be suspended in the water, each bubble representing one of Xueyu's memories. Yang Kai began to scrutinize the information hidden in these bubbles. He saw many scenes and pictures. A baby fell as her nearby mother lay weakly on the bed, her face pale and bloodless. But upon hearing the baby's cry, the most beautiful smile in the world blossomed on her face. A burly man who had been waiting outside rushed in, his hands shaking as he picked up the baby, completely disregarding the dirt and filth staining it. A look full of affection filling his face as he gently kissed the baby's forehead, his eyes shining with fatherly love. The 7 or 8-month-old child was being held in the arms of its mother to breastfeed, closing its eyes as it drank thirstily. The mother smiled with satisfaction as she teased her daughter from time to time, the burly father standing nearby grinning dotingly. The baby started toddling about and even began to babble, sending out a stream of wordless noises as she walked forward cautiously, falling down once in a while, causing her mother to rush over in distress and hug her into her arms, the father smiling warmly nearby, a happy family of 3. An old man with a snow-white beard came to see the baby, carefully examining her before solemnly reporting something to the burly father. The smile and joy immediately vanished from his face, a solemn light flashing across his eyes as he stared at his nearby daughter. A 3-year-old child was received into a palace, dressed in boy's clothing and raised as a man. The little girl stood ignorantly inside the grand palace, followed by servants and maids. She was forbidden from leaving the palace and no longer able to see her loving mother, only able to meet her dignified father. She began to learn all kinds of miscellaneous things and began to cultivate growing healthy and strong, but only able to live as a man. Her aptitude was excellent, and only when her strength increased would she be able to see a smile from her father. At other times his face only contained sternness and scolding. Xueyu third young masters spread out and soon the entire star field knew about her. She learned how to deal with those strangers she met by showing the perfect smile, her elegant demeanor and beauty able to mesmerize men and women alike. But she couldn't see her own mother, and only at night, when she was all alone, would she be able to take out a few sets of women's clothing and lay them on her bed sadly. These clothes were all sent by her mother secretly and seemed to retain a trace of her gentle aura. Watching these scenes, Yang Kai felt as if he was experiencing them himself and was able to sense the pain and resentment in Xueyu's heart, the sadness and helplessness of this woman. Under her immutable smile that was able to dazzle and dumbfound all sentient beings lay a bitter and fragile heart, hidden under layers of false strength. Years of pretense not only allowed her to deceive the world but herself as well, until that life or death struggle atop that dead star. At that time, Shui was enraged and her murderous intent soared to the heavens. But it was also the first time she had ever experienced such strong emotions stemming from her female nature. She had been hugged naked and had her snow-white peaks squeezed tightly, causing her pulse to race and her tender body to shiver, new and indescribable feelings surging through her body, making her feel numb and unable to breathe. Whenever she thought back to that time, she would blush bright red. The boisterous and noisy period of time after that then became the most unforgettable days of her life, making her wish she could stop time and forever remain on that dead star. Because only in front of this man could she let down her guard and be herself. Xianxia injected vitality into her life, making it no longer seem so dark and dreary. When she was exploring the ancient ruins, she had ignored the deaths and injuries of many of her subordinates while constantly ordered for the expedition team to pick up speed, just so she could leave there a bit faster and return to that small world of freedom. But when the space ring she tried to collect burst, she was sent into a coma. It took a long time for Xianxia's soul avatar to emerge from Shuiyu's knowledge sea. Xianxia now knew all of Shuiyu's secrets. He hadn't expected this vicious woman to have such a miserable past, and although he felt some sympathy and pity for her, his heart, that did not change what he had to do. He saw not only Shuiyu's misery but also the darkness in her heart. Even if this woman was worthy of pity, that didn't mean she wasn't extremely dangerous. Her sentiment towards him wasn't her pure feelings, but all because of the influence of the soul chains. After watching for so long, Xianxia also faintly knows why Shuiyu's soul avatar had disappeared, as well as how he should go about treating her. This kind of heart knot wasn't a physical wound, so as long as Shuiyu could untie it, she would naturally wake up. Inside Shuiyu's knowledge sea, Xianxia's soul avatar sent out a subtle wave. He began to create dreamlike illusions and forced them into the seawater. From her infancy to her current age, in these illusions, Shuiyu did not have to pretend to be someone else, did not have to show that unchanging spring breeze-like smile, did not have to live as a man. She grew up carefree, with her father, mother, brothers, and sisters all living in harmony. She could wear the most beautiful clothes and the most beautiful jewelry, no longer needing to spend torturous days and nights cultivating and training. In these illusions, she was the world's happiest woman. She would take a few maidservants with her to stroll around the streets every day, occasionally revealing a radiant smile that made the blood of all the men in the city boil. In these illusions, she would return home at the end of each day and tell her parents about the various things she encountered while they listened to her quietly with happy, smiling faces. She even met a man who moved her heart, but due to her shyness, she could only watch him from a distance, paying attention to his movements, unable to take the initiative to talk to him. To her surprise, though, this heroic-looking handsome man actually took notice of her too, defeated all his competitors, and fulfilled her father's demanding requirements to win her hand in marriage. They then became husband and wife and had children of their own. Although they didn't live a lavish or magnificent life, both of them helped one another during times of difficulty and shared much joy together. Their children slowly grew up and they gradually grew old. Eventually, they passed on, finally being buried together in graves placed right beside one another, as if even in death they would never be separated. In these illusions, Shuiyu lived a perfect life without any regrets. Xianxia repeated this process over and over again, submerging these illusions he constructed with his own spiritual energy into Shuiyu's knowledge sea, disregarding his own consumption and fatigue. Time passed by, but Shuiyu's knowledge sea was still as stagnant as ever. However, suddenly, the calm seawater began to roll and the numerous bubbles under the surface all burst, returning to nothingness. The breeze blew and a light fragrance began wafting past the tip of Xianxia's nose. Xianxia stopped what he was doing, turned around, and saw Shuiyu standing behind him with a grin of interest on her face. Xianxia rolled his eyes and immediately withdrew from her knowledge sea. The moment Xianxia opened his eyes, Shuiyu also woke up, reached out, grabbing him and said, "Hey, why did you run away like some frightened thief? Since you woke up, what else was I supposed to do? Wait for me to be tortured by you? If I were to stay there, a little third-order saint like me wouldn't be able to put up any kind of resistance." Xianxia snorted. Everyone's knowledge sea was their personal domain where they had absolute control. Therefore, when two cultivators were of similar strength, they would never try to invade each other's knowledge sea, as the one who did would always be the one to suffer. Only when there was a vast disparity in strength would one possibly invading another's knowledge sea to deal serious damage. Me? Torture you? Why do you think I would torture you? If you didn't do anything wrong, what reason would I have to torture you? Shuiyu pressed the issue relentlessly, her eyes narrowing as a dangerous light filled them. Good. I admit that I broke into your knowledge sea without your permission, and it was wrong of me to pry into your secrets. But you refused to wake up, so I had no other choice. Xianxia shook his sleeve to free himself from her grip. After prying into my secrets, you still want to argue about? Shuiyu grit her teeth as she glowered towards Xianxia menacingly. I didn't see much, Xianxia said somewhat evasively. Shuiyu didn't speak, simply staring back at him fixedly. Fine, I even know how many hairs you have on your body, so what? What are you going to do? Bite me? Xianxia said without the slightest trace of shame. You bastard! Shuiyu immediately became angry out of shame, leaping off the bed and rushing over to Xianxia, nipping his hand with her pearl-white teeth once before shouting, You think I won't dare? Xianxia didn't try to avoid her and instead curled his lips into a grin. If you're not satisfied biting my hand, you can always try somewhere else. Interested? Shuiyu's face and neck turned bright red as she quickly released Xianxia's hand and spat, In your dreams. In that illusion. She had gained plenty of experience with the man she married and could now easily recall all those various postures and positions with ease. She had received a thorough and systematic education. Naturally, she understood what Xianxia meant. Although she also understood that it was just a fantasy created by Xianxia for her, and none of it really happened, she still couldn't help feeling extremely ashamed. After all, the woman in that fantasy was modeled after her, sharing her exact appearance. It was as if she was really a harlot, constantly begging for more, completely insatiable. Were you always so obscene? Shuiyu looked at Xianxia strangely, seemingly not having through he was such a degenerate pervert. Seems I've greatly misread you. What's obscene about the love between a man and a woman? Xianxia spat disdainfully. When you really try it, you'll realize the beauty of it. Even so, you didn't have to add yourself into that illusion, did you? Shuiyu smiled sweetly, as if she had suddenly discovered something interesting. In those illusions, you were quite handsome and persistent. Are you hoping I'll really marry you? Nope. I wouldn't be able to endure being with a woman like you. Xianxia quickly waved his hand. Get lost. Shuiyu's expression changed faster than one could turn the page of a book, trembling with anger as she kicking Xianxia off the bed. Xianxia stood up, patted himself off indifferently and said, Have a good rest. Once you restore yourself, I have something I need to tell you. The expression on Shuiyu's face froze, apparently understanding what it was that Xianxia wanted to talk about. Closing her eyes in the next moment without saying a word. Outside the room, Xianxia saw Zhong Ao leaning sideways, cupping his ears, listening intently. After seeing Xianxia, old Zhong didn't make any attempt to cover up his actions or apologize, simply asking, Rescued? And Xianxia nodded. Impressive? Zhong Ao couldn't help but give him a big thumbs up. But what were you two doing inside? Why was it so lively? Aren't you her guard? Kid, this old master has to say, your courage is simply extraordinary, even daring to get involved with Shuiyu third young master's woman. And you should run as soon as possible. This old master doesn't wish to see you die so young. Once that Shuiyu's anger explodes, the whole Hung Luo star field will shake. Zhong Ao may have spent too much time in seclusion, so despite being so old, his interest in gossip was as strong as any youth. He seemed to like seeing others flirting, and when he did see such scenes, it made him feel a few dozen years younger. Shameless! Xianxia ignored him and instead walked out to find Hali Ka to inform him of the situation. After hearing Shuiyu had awoken, Hali Ka was overjoyed and even gave Xianxia a great big hug while sincerely expressing his gratitude. Since Shuiyu had woken up, their last worries had disappeared, and now that Zhong Ao had taken one step further on the alchemy way, As long as they could appropriately process the profound in sunflower water, everything would be wonderful. What's more, since there was Shuiyu to handle the matter of the profound in sunflower water, even if the Chamber of Commerce sanctioned them, they would only receive some slight punishment, nothing near as serious as what they had been worrying about before. With all the good news flowing in, how could they not be joyful? With the executives in a jubilant mood, the rest of the branch was also extremely happy. 1 month passed by in the blink of an eye. Shuiyu had been staying in her room ever since she woke up that day, claiming that his injuries still needed time to heal. But the effects of the profound in sunflower water had already been treated by the burning flame pill, and there was no damage to her soul, so what kind of healing could she still need? Although she had stayed in a coma for more than a year, with her cultivation, she only needed a day or two to restore herself. The only reason was none other than she was avoiding Yang Kai. Yang Kai understood this, but there was nothing he could do about it. Every time he went to find Shuiyu, he was stopped outside by several Saint King realm cultivators serving as door guards. These people did not give Yang Kai any trouble, instead just smiling and saying that Lady Xuer had ordered them to not allow anyone to enter her room without her permission. Their attitude was good, but their meaning of rejection was incredibly firm. Yang Kai wished he could pound these guards flat. Yang Kai was unhappy, and old Zong wasn't in much better of a mood. Half of his profound in sunflower water was taken away by Yang Kai, and several dozen of his large and small pill furnaces were snatched, causing Zong Ao to feel like his heart had been pierced, but he wasn't shameless enough to go back on his word. Zong Ao was still a trustworthy person. Since he dared to bet, he dared to lose, very much unlike Shuiyu who liked to dominate others with force. Yang Kai also asked Zong Ao how to refine the profound in sunflower water. Zong Ao didn't conceal anything and taught him all he knew. Yang Kai realized after some explanations that although the profound in sunflower water was a rare treasure, if it wasn't properly handled, refining it would be fatal. Aside from needing a wide variety of auxiliary materials though, refining it also required an extremely hot environment. Only when these preparations were completed and conditions were met could one start refining this treasure. The auxiliary materials required were actually already in Yang Kai's possession. Back on the floating continent, he had harvested many origin grade and origin king grade herbs, each one of incredible value. All he needed to do was find a suitable environment. According to Old Zong, it would be best if he used the magma chamber of some ancient volcano because only such a level of heat could suppress the chill of profound in sunflower water. However, Zong Ao also said that Yang Kai's current strength was still too low. He would need to at least reach the Saint King realm before attempting to refine the profound in sunflower water. Otherwise, he would definitely lose his life. Shuiyu's refusal to meet him face to face continued to agitate and annoy Yang Kai. The next day, when Yang Kai arrived outside Shuiyu's room, the Saint King realm guards would smile at him and say a few kind words, but still barred his path. Seeing this familiar scene, Yang Kai's face sank. Just after the several guards stopped Yang Kai with smiles on their faces and were about to ask him to forgive them for carrying out their responsibilities, Shuiyu's pleasant voice sounded off, "Let him in." Upon hearing this, the guards stepped aside, breathing deep sighs of relief, throwing out silent looks of encouragement as they did so. Yang Kai was disinclined to deal with them, strode forward, pushed open the door with a cold look on his face, and walked inside. There was no change in the room. Everything was the same as it was the last time he visited. Shuiyu, on the other hand, somehow seemed worse for wear, her expression a mixture of sadness and gloom. She didn't avoid Yang Kai's angry eyes, nipping her lip lightly as she stared back at him. "Sit down. Let's talk." Seeing her appearance, Yang Kai had nowhere to vent his anger. Women were truly unfair. Obviously, her strength was far higher than his own, and if it came down to a fight, he would definitely not be her opponent. She could punch him into submission at will, yet at this moment, she could rely solely on her expression to create the illusion of weakness. Like the heavens themselves had wronged her. Yang Kai picked up the teapot on the table, poured himself a cup, took a sip gently, then opened his mouth to say something, but before he could utter a word, Shuiyu's jade finger landed on his lips. Her fingers were icy cold, but there was still a faint fragrance on its tip. Don't say anything. Let me show you something first, Shuiyu said lightly, with a softer tone than ever before. What? Yang Kai immediately became vigilant, sweeping his eyes up and down Shuiyu before saying, If it's your body, there's no need. Every part of it has already been imprinted into my head. I can perfectly picture it even with my eyes closed. A dog's mouth can't spit out ivory. Shuiyu became ashamed and angry. Do you think I'm the kind of woman who'd try to seduce a man with my body? Then what do you want me to see? Yang Kai ignored her question and asked. Shuiyu glared angrily before pushing a sheet of paper over to him. Yang Kai accepted the piece of paper, sipped his tea lightly, and began browsing its content. After a while, a strange expression appeared on his face and he grinned. Shuiyu, these conditions are a bit too good, aren't they? Just by becoming your guard, I'll be paid 100,000 high-rank St. Crystals every year and obtain a 500-kilometer radius domain. Not really, my guards all obtain certain benefits, but everyone's treatment is different. Shuiyu took the teacup of tea in front of her and calmly took a sip, putting on a calm appearing, but the slight trembling of her hands betrayed her inner nervousness. If before, the warm feelings she had for Yang Kai, and even the intimacy and affection she felt for him, had only been a result of the effects of the soul chains. However, right now she could say for certain that even without the bindings of the soul chains, those feelings wouldn't completely disappear as they had taken root in her soul. When forced actions and feelings became natural habits, they weren't easy to change anymore. What's more, he had peered into her knowledge sea, and all of her secrets had been exposed, making her feel shyer and more embarrassed than if she was standing in front of him naked, allowing him to examine her. Shuiyu sincerely hoped that Yang Kai would remain with her, even though she knew he couldn't wait to get away from her. While pretending to drink her tea, she quietly watched Yang Kai's reaction, wanting to see if he showed any interest at all. However, to her disappointment, Yang Kai showed no trace of temptation and only seemed to be curiously examining the different articles and clauses in the document. I'll have 20 beautiful maids to serve me? Yang Kai glanced up at Shuiyu with a raised brow. Aren't I just a guard? Am I supposed to have beautiful maids? What's so strange about it? An average person's guard is naturally just a subordinate and not entitled to have such luxurious. But could my Shuiyu's guards possibly not have such qualifications? Shuiyu smiled deviously as she saw a trace of anticipation finally appear in Yang Kai's eyes, quickly adding some embellishments. I can choose the best women for you. You may not know this, but my Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce also operates a slave business. Many big and small families that go bankrupt or fall into ruin will have their young ladies bought up by the Chamber of Commerce to later be sold. Each of these women have good education and their aptitudes and strength aren't bad either. As far as I know, the strongest ones have reached the Saint King realm. They're nothing less than precious treasures. While she was colorfully describing these women to Yang Kai, she was silently cursing him out in her heart. She had offered him so many favorable conditions, yet besides this one, he had treated them all indifferently. Shuiyu couldn't help feeling the urge to reach out and choke him. Seems like he's a man after all. Shuiyu sighed helplessly. Very good, very good. Yang Kai nodded strongly a few times. He was truly quite interested in having some beautiful maids serving him. When he was back on Tongxian realm, there were too many acquaintances around, and he didn't dare act sloppily, but now that he had arrived in the star field all alone, such concerns didn't exist anymore. On top of that, since he took that last step with little senior sister, Yang Kai had found that his mentality towards the happenings between men and women had changed greatly. At least, he no longer repelled the idea of having some fun here and there. Back when he was staying in Shintu's palace, his freewheeling activities had provided him with much food for thought. You think so too? Shuiyu still maintained a smile on her face as she secretly ground her teeth before softly coaxing. If you agree, then just leave your mark on the contract and from now on you'll be my person and receive my shelter. From now on, if anyone dares to bar your way or offend you, you need only report my name. You'll be able to walk sideways in the star field if you so please. I'm not a crab. Yang Kai smiled and put the instrument back on the table. Shuiyu stared straight at him, her brow furrowing slightly. Yang Kai let out a sigh. shifting his gaze away from hers as he said, "Why do this? You know what it is I want. What do you intend to do by asking me to sell myself into servitude?" "Who said anything about selling yourself into servitude?" Shueyu's beautiful eyes dimmed as she said uprightly, "Isn't it written at the very top? This contract is only valid for 5 years. If you're not satisfied after 5 years, it can be renegotiated. I just want you to spend some time considering it. After I sign, in this lifetime, I'll never be able to leave. Shueyu, let's unlock the soul chains, and from now on you will walk along the broad road while I traverse the narrow path." "Well, water should not mix with river water," Yang Kai said sincerely. When Shueyu heard these words, the impulse to cry welled up inside her, but she stubbornly refused to let her tears fall, lifting her head and tilting her head back slightly. Amazingly, the tears disappeared, seemingly drawn back into her tear glands through sheer force of will. She then clenched her teeth and said, "I don't care. Everything that you could touch you touched, and you even dove into the depths of my knowledge sea. Peeping on all of my secrets, you have to sign this contract with me. Of the loss I suffered can't possibly be made up. If it's about your secrets, you can rest assured I will keep them safe without leaking a single word. I won't joke around with my life. I fully realize the strength and influence you possess." Yang Kai said solemnly. Shueyu became even more indignant as she muttered, "It seems you even know that secret." Yang Kai scratched his cheek and said innocently, "I really wish I didn't know it. Who could have guessed that you were hiding something even more shocking than the fact that you're actually a woman? No wonder President AIO forced you to live as a man. He did it for your sake, and you shouldn't blame him." "For my sake?" Shueyu's eyes suddenly flashed with cold light as she said dreadfully, "I was separated from my own mother for several decades, and then in order to keep this secret, my father killed everyone who knew it, including her. Was that also for my own good?" Yang Kai didn't know how to respond. What Shueyu mentioned he had already uncovered from his time in her knowledge sea. This was her family's matters though, so it wasn't appropriate for him to comment on it. Moreover, the circumstances surrounding Shueyu's mother's death remained a mystery. Even Shueyu had only heard some rumors about it. So what if I possess the dragon marrow phoenix body? Could it be that everyone in the world can see through my physique, come to snatch me for it? Shueyu screamed in anger, her proud chest heaving up and down in a soul-stirring rhythm. "Lower your voice," Yang Kai called out in fright. "Do you not want to live anymore? Why would you yell out so crazily like that?" Seeing Yang Kai act so nervous, Shueyu couldn't help feeling a little smug. The anger she just felt thrown 1,000 kilometers away as she directed a smile towards him. "Right. You also know about this secret, so why didn't you make a move? You should know what kind of advantages a dragon marrow phoenix body can bring to you." "Of course I know." Yang Kai shot her a faint look. "According to what those people in your memory said, any man who is able to take your primordial een will gain unimaginable benefits. The moon slave business of your Chamber of Commerce was actually inspired by your special constitution, right?" Shueyu gently nodded. "Yes, you can say that I am the highest quality moon slave in the Chamber of Commerce, but no one knows about it. While I was unconscious, you obviously had many opportunities. I don't believe you weren't tempted. You aren't nearly that righteous." Saying so, she directed a look towards him as if to say she had completely seen through him. "You're right. I was tempted, extremely tempted." Yang Kai nodded firmly. "When I learned that secret, my first thoughts were to strip off your clothes and take possession of you." "Then why didn't you?" Shueyu asked curiously. "You also knew that even if you did that, I wouldn't blame you for it. At worst I would beat you a bit." She said these words incredibly calmly, as if she wasn't talking about her own innocence, but that of another woman she didn't know. Yang Kai felt a headache and after a moment of silence declared, "I'm a man of principles." Shueyu's lips curled fiercely, obviously not believing a single word Yang Kai just said. "According to the old man who first discovered your special constitution, the higher your strength, the greater the benefit the one who obtains you will gain. You are currently a third-order Saint King. If I really took you, I'm afraid the most I would be able to achieve would be breaking through the first-order Saint King realm." Yang Kai said lightly, "But so what? I don't need the aid of your body to reach such a level. Do you believe I can't achieve the same height in less than 3 years? Shuiyu stared at Yang Kai with a stunned look. Listening to his grand words, her beautiful eyes flashed in confusion for a moment before she nodded repeatedly, then seemingly casually asked, "What if I wasn't a Saint King, but an Origin King?" Yang Kai swept his eyes over her once, then without thinking said, "Then you'd already be my woman." The blur in Shuiyu's beautiful eyes instantly disappeared and was replaced with endless contempt, cynically snapping, "So the truth is that in your mind, there just weren't enough benefits." "Yes," Yang Kai admitted frankly. "And those high-minded principles you were just spouting off about?" Shuiyu sneered as the contempt in her eyes grew even stronger. "What are those worth? Can they be sold for money?" Yang Kai said in disdain. In this verbal confrontation, neither side could convince the other. Inside the room, Yang Kai looked helplessly at Shuiyu, while Shuiyu drank tea constantly to calm her anger. Unfortunately, her teacup had long ago been emptied, leaving nothing behind but air. The atmosphere was incredibly depressing. "Are you really so cold and ruthless?" Shuiyu suddenly spoke, staring towards Yang Kai with a chilly gaze. This man's persistence had wounded her somewhat. Yang Kai just shook his head in response. "No matter what you say, I want to leave. This time I suffered a big loss, and I never want to leave my life in the hands of another again. Especially a woman like you who possesses so many secrets. Once you're exposed, even Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce won't be able to protect you, and if you were to die, I'd be hit with the same fate." Shuiyu's Dragon Marrow Phoenix body special constitution was a very unique physique. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that she was the best moon slave in the Chamber of Commerce. When those moon slaves were taken by men, they would only be able to give them some slight benefits. But Shuiyu was different. Even at her current strength, Yang Kai was confident he could directly break through to the Saint King realm, and as her strength improved, her special constitution would only provide greater benefits to her first man. Moreover, this wasn't just a pure boost in strength, but one in realm. There were too many masters in this world who painstakingly cultivated for hundreds or even thousands of years yet were unable to break through to the next realm. To them, Shuiyu's body was the greatest tool. President AIO was a man of profound vision, so when Shuiyu was 3 years old, he had taken her away to be raised as a man in order to avoid her suffering such a fate and bringing disaster to Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce in the process. "How long could you restrain me?" Yang Kai stared at Shuiyu indifferently with no intention of backing down. Forcefully picked melon is not sweet, on top of which, both of us know that the biggest factor by far in your current behavior is the effects of the soul chains. The reason you're acting this way is because of your own desires. You've lived as a man for so long, and during that time the only one who you've been able to let your guard down around is me. Rather than any other kind of feelings, the biggest reason you want to keep me around is so you can maintain that sense of freedom, right? Shuiyu remained silent. Yang Kai's words were clear and concise. She could not find anything in them she could refute. Yang Kai's expression gradually became solemn as his tone of voice became firm. "You see me as nothing more than a tiny third-order saint, someone you can order around at will, but have you ever thought about things from my perspective? I am the first one from my world to enter the star field, which also means that I am the strongest cultivator from that world. There, I am the master." Shuiyu's absent-minded look became slightly thoughtful upon hearing these words. "You've captured monster beasts before, haven't you? Do you remember that monster beast king?" Yang Kai's solemn expression twisted into a snide one. "What was the fate of that monster beast king you captured? Were you able to tame it?" Shuiyu's mind involuntarily recalled an event in the past, where she had captured the king of a pack of monster beasts. That king refused to obey her and would often lash out at others, offending those it shouldn't. No matter how she tried, she was never able to tame it, and in the end, she had no other choice but to put it down. Shuiyu opened her mouth to speak, but found that she didn't know what to say. "Think it over carefully. I'll wait for you for 3 days. Give me your reply then. I don't want to make things too stiff." Yang Kai glanced at her lightly before standing up and leaving. From the look in his eyes, Shuiyu was able to see a kind of firm will, one that told her that regardless of what choice she made, 3 days from now, he would still choose to leave. Without unlocking the soul chains, him leaving would make her situation difficult. How much risk a third-order saint traveling by himself through the starfield would be taking on was something Xueyu knew better than anyone. How could she feel secure leaving her life in such a precarious state? With her thoughts in a mess, Xueyu grabbed the cup on the table and threw it hard against the ground, grinding her teeth in grief for a long time before finally muttering a few words, "Cruel and heartless, from when she was a child until now." She had never been at a disadvantage when confronting others. She had always held the initiative, whether that person was male or female, young or old. As long as they fell into her hands, she could bend them to her will. The senior executives in the Chamber of Commerce all agreed that she was the best and most outstanding successor candidate for the presidency. Xueyu accepted such compliments as if they were only natural. But when facing Yang Kai, she found herself constantly being restrained. Even during their brief conversation now, she had been forced into a position where she couldn't even refute his words, leaving her extremely annoyed and disgruntled. Hiding inside the room in a distressed state of mind, she sat cross-legged on the bed, quietly circulating her secret art in order to stabilize her disordered mood. Gradually, her breathing calmed down and she began to think about herself and Yang Kai from a different angle, mainly the pros and cons of their relationship, what letting him leave and making him stay would mean. Outside of Xueyu's room, Yang Kai slowly shook his head. He had given Xueyu 3 days, but when the time came, no matter what choice she made, he would definitely put as much distance between himself and this woman as possible. Perhaps because of Soul Chain's effects though, he was feeling a bit bitter at the moment. Several people who were standing around nearby giving him curious glances made Yang Kai even more unhappy. These people apparently had nothing better to do and had come to enjoy a good show, each one eager to gossip about it to anyone and everyone they could find, wanting to ask about the situation yet too embarrassed to open their mouths. Old Ha! Yang Kai couldn't stand it any longer and called out. Halika's face turned slightly red as he strode over with the other executives while pretending to discuss something, wearing as serious an expression as he could as he did. Old Ha! Yang Kai shouted again as they approached. Little brother? Halika said with a slightly unhappy look. Even though these old fogies call me Old Ha, it's not quite appropriate or polite for you to address me so. Although I don't mind personally, if outsiders were to hear about this it wouldn't be good. Lady Xuer asked me to get her some cultivation materials from the branch's storeroom. Yang Kai ignored his protest. Lady Xuer made such a request? Halika was startled, but without asking much, he turned to Yang Kai and said, "Come with me. There are many good things in the storeroom. I don't know if they can enter Lady Xuer's eyes though." Lady Xuer isn't too particular. Yang Kai scratched his cheek. No matter what, he would be leaving in 3 days. This time he had nearly lost his life in order to wake up Xueyu, and he couldn't remain on Rainfall Star for long. So he decided to fish for some advantages before departing. Especially Saint Crystals, Yang Kai had exhausted his current supply. As such, he decided to borrow Xueyu's name. By the time she found out about it, he would already be long gone. In front of the storeroom, Halika and Lin Mufeng each took out a key and together opened the heavy door. Old Ha was a clear-cut and decisive person. So standing at the door to the storeroom, he simply said, "Go in and see for yourself. Don't hesitate to take anything you need. We'll wait here." Yang Kai nodded and casually strode into the storeroom. A moment later, bright, colorful lights flashed in front of Yang Kai, making it difficult for him to even open his eyes. This was the treasury of Rainfall Star's Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce branch. The wealth stored inside was astonishing. Rows upon rows of shelves filled with cultivation materials, artifacts, and pills along with ores of each of the 5 elements and even space spirit crystals used to manufacture space rings were carefully placed inside. As he looked at the assortment of treasures before him, Yang Kai walked straight ahead to a pile of Saint Crystals. The Saint Crystals here were piled up into small hills of low rank, mid rank, and high rank. Yang Kai went straight up to the pile of high-rank Saint Crystals and collected 50,000 of them before stopping. This would be enough for him to use for quite some time. After spending this long in the star field, Yang Kai had gained a rough idea about the value of Saint Crystals. 50,000 pieces of high-rank Saint Crystal was enough to purchase an origin-grade high-rank artifact. After storing away these Saint Crystals, Yang Kai next went to the place where herbs were placed. Yang Kai already possessed a lot of Origin Grade and Origin King Grade herbs, but he had no way to use them yet as his alchemy proficiency wasn't high enough. On the other hand, he was lacking Saint King Grade herbs which corresponded to his current level. Yang Kai could current refine Saint King Grade mid-rank pills fairly easily, and with some effort he could even refine some high-rank pills. As such, he collected as many Saint King Grade herbs as possible to help him promote his alchemy level in the future. Yang Kai hadn't gone too far in his pillage, only caring about a few good things while leaving most the wealth here behind so as not to create a life or death enmity. Yang Kai packed up enough Saint King Grade herbs to fill a single space ring before stopping. The 5-element ores were also essential as the 2 pitch-black round stones inside the black book space were like bottomless pits. The ores he had purchased back on Water Moon Star last time had already been consumed by these 2 stones, so now was the right time to add some more. Worthy of the treasury of a Hung Lu Chamber of Commerce branch, the grade and amount of ores stored here were quite good, allowing Yang Kai to easily fill up a ring before moving on. When he arrived at the area where artifacts were stored, Yang Kai was filled with anticipation. He hoped to find a couple of artifacts here, preferably for defense. As for offensive-type artifacts, Yang Kai wasn't as interested. Compared to these external boosts, he preferred to concentrate on enhancing his own strength. However, defensive items were a different matter. The more such artifacts he could possess, the better, as in critical moments they could save his life. After browsing around though, Yang Kai wound up disappointed. There were indeed a lot of artifacts here, but none of them were able to catch his attention. The best artifact stored inside the storehouse was a Saint King Grade high-rank halberd. Yang Kai has never been interested in such a bulky weapon. Only those men with excess muscles everywhere, including in their heads, would use such an artifact to show off their might. Taking such an artifact would be useless to Yang Kai and would also waste a lot of his time to refine. Looking around for a while longer but turning up empty-handed, Yang Kai left the storehouse. Holly Ka and Lin Mufeng, who had been waiting outside, saw Yang Kai walk out but didn't ask him what had taken, much less inspect his haul, instead just nodding to him before closing the treasury's doors. They were also counting on Lady Schwer to put in a good word for them when the representatives from the Home Star arrived, allowing them to escape punishment. So naturally, now that Lady Schwer wanted something from their treasury, they were more than happy to open the doors wide for her. Yang Kai, on the other hand, couldn't help worrying about Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce a bit, thinking that if every branch president was as irresponsible as old Ha, wouldn't the Chamber of Commerce soon go broke? Inside Zhong Ao's room, Yang Kai poured a glass of wine for the old man with a respectful expression. The old man accepted the glass without the slightest politeness or hesitation. After lifting the glass and taking a sip, Zhong Ao grinned widely and said, "If you have something to say, just say it, as long as you're not after this old master's treasures, of course." Yang Kai smiled back, "I didn't have such intentions. Old Zhong is thinking too much. This junior just came to say goodbye to senior. And during this time, I've received much care from senior, which I am very grateful for. Whether Zhong Ao was a good person or not, or whether he had harbored murderous intent to him or not, these days Yang Kai had really been taken care of well by Zhong Ao. Without his guidance, Yang Kai wouldn't have had any idea about how to save Shuiyu or how to awaken her soul avatar. Although Zhong Ao had also gained much from Yang Kai, there was nothing wrong with a junior paying his respects to an old senior. Say goodbye. Zhong Ao was stunned. Are you leaving? Good. I'll be leaving in 2 days. Yang Kai nodded. Zhong Ao wore a strange expression as he asked, Are you afraid that Shuiyu third young master will come seeking trouble with you? And you should leave. If someone from Water Moon Star wants to seek trouble with you, you'll definitely die. He still believed Yang Kai didn't fear the heavens and had dared to covet touch Shuiyu's woman. Yang Kai, of course, didn't bother to explain, allowing the old man to think what he liked. Kid, have you considered following this old master? Zhong Ao suddenly proposed. It's just a woman, and since Shuiyu is the son of President AIO, I don't think he'll fail to see the bigger picture. As long as you follow this old master, when the time comes, I should be able to make big things small and small things nothing. Otherwise, How is a cultivator at the Third Order Saint Realm supposed to escape pursuit from the Hung Luo Chamber of Commerce? I'm afraid the star field isn't vast enough for you to hide in. Why does everyone want me to follow them? Yang Kai complained in his heart while maintaining a calm look on his face. He knew that old Zong was making this proposal because he fancied his alchemy aptitude. So Yang Kai simply shook his head and said, I appreciate old Zong's intentions, but this junior is still determined to leave. Zong Ao nodded lightly. Since that's the case, this old master won't insist. Good. I've got some things here for you. I noticed that despite your excellent alchemy aptitude, you've never received any kind of systematic instruction in the field, so you probably aren't aware of the uses of various high-grade herbs and pills. These should be of use to you. Saying so, he took out a big stack of ancient books from his space ring. Yang Kai's eyes lit up and didn't stand on ceremony, quickly sweeping all these texts into his own space ring. Yang Kai was familiar with many of these ancient books as he had browsed through some of them in Zong Ao's palace. Some were written by Zong Ao himself, while others had apparently been collected by him over the years. These books gave descriptions of the medicinal properties, grades, and growth environments of various herbs in the star field. As long as he could thoroughly digest the content inside, Yang Kai's could smoothly adapt to the star field's alchemy standards and would no longer encounter herbs he couldn't identify. Not having a chance to finish browsing through these books was one of Yang Kai's regrets about having to leave Rainfall Star in such a rush, as he had no idea when such a good opportunity would appear again. But now Zong Ao had taken the initiative to deliver these books to him. Yang Kai was naturally quite grateful. Kid, tell this old master, where did you learn alchemy? The spirit arrays you use is a bit different from the ones that are popularized in the star field. Although they seem to share the same source, there are still many subtle differences. Zong Ao asked curiously. Old Zong, the place where I come from is a lower world, where the strongest cultivators are only third-order saints, the same as my current cultivation. The best alchemists are also only saint-grade high-rank standard. Spirit grasses, spirit medicines, artifacts, and even raw materials are all capped at this grade. That's why I don't know much about materials above saint grade. Yang Kai no longer concealed anything and freely chatted with Zong Ao while sharing a drink. Zong Ao was startled again and again as he listened to Yang Kai's story, thinking more and more he wasn't simple. A junior from a lower world was actually able to obtain such achievements in alchemy, and even provide the inspiration required for Zong Ao to solve the problem which had troubled him for hundreds of years, allowing him to now achieve a 10% chance at refining pills that formed pill veins. What kind of achievements would this kid have made if he had instead been born on one of the best cultivation stars in the star field? Thinking about all this, Zong Ao became even more congenial as he spoke with Yang Kai. After 3 rounds of drinking, Yang Kai got up to leave and Zong Ao didn't try to retain him, only telling him that the method of generating pill veins would not leak from his lips without Yang Kai's permission. Yang Kai waved his hand lightly and said nothing. Whether it was artifact refiners or alchemists or even cultivators, they were not the sharing type who would freely expose the details of their martial skills and skills. Instead, they would treat these things as their greatest secrets and only pass them on to their own people. Outsiders wanting to spy on these things was impossible, and attempts to do so often led to life or death conflicts. Zong Ao being able to learn the method of generating pill veins from Yang Kai had already made him very satisfied. Naturally, he wouldn't now go about publicizing it. After 2 more uneventful days, Zong Ao moved back to his mountain valley, saying he was going to recultivate his vast medicine gardens. In any case, his cultivation wasn't low and he had plenty of years left to live, more than enough to grow a new batch of mature herbs. Shui Yu and Yang Kai both also stayed in their own rooms these 2 days. Holly Ka and Lin Mufeng sensed that the atmosphere wasn't right and busied themselves with their own affairs while waiting for someone from the home star to arrive and deal with things here. 2 days later, Yang Kai came to Shui Yu's room and without saying anything walked inside directly. There seemed to be a chill lingering in the room. Shui Yu was sitting at the same table as before, looking stoic. When she saw Yang Kai come in, she only shot him a faint glance. Yang Kai clearly understood that Shui Yu felt a deep resentment in her heart, and it was obvious that her attitude was different from a few days ago. There was a cold aura now surrounding her tender body. Yang Kai braced himself and sat down in front of her. Drink this first. Shui Yu poured a glass of wine and placed it in front of Yang Kai. Is it poisoned? Yang Kai shot her a look of distrust. What benefit would poisoning you bring me? Shui Yu stared at him coldly. Yang Kai looked at the clear liquor in the cup before shaking his head. Forget it. I didn't come here to drink wine. Let's finish our business. He was sure there was something wrong with this wine. Based on what he knew about Shui Yu, it was absolutely impossible she would give up so easily. Yang Kai was prepared to not leave her any face and bicker to the end. Seeing him act with such vigilance, Shui Yu smiled sarcastically, took the wine glass and drank it before slamming it back down in front of him, seemingly wanting to demonstrate that he was thinking too much. Have you thought things through? Have you thought things through? Shui Yu returned his words. Don't play games with me. Doing so is meaningless. I gave you my answer 3 days ago. Is there really no room to negotiate? Shui Yu still didn't give up. No. Yang Kai shook his head slowly. Shui Yu grit her teeth and said, Yes, you're right, forcefully picked melon is not sweet. You and I are now tied together by the soul chains, and if I were to really force you to stay, if one day you decide to commit suicide, I'd be buried along with you. I can't allow that to happen. Since you insist on leaving, then we'll have to unlock the soul chains, then neither of us will have anything to do with the other. It's good that you understand. Yang Kai was overjoyed. Don't look so happy. Shui Yu got up, walked over, stood behind Yang Kai from a moment before saying, The reason why I'm so willing to be entangled with you is definitely related to the soul chains. But you're also right that a big part of it stems from my womanly heart. From the age of 3 until now, the only person I've ever been able to truly let my defenses down around is you. These days have been the happiest of my life. Old Zong also told me that in order to wake me, you nearly lost your life, and although I don't know all the details since Old Zong went so far, he shouldn't be lying. I need to thank you for that because no one has ever worked so hard for me as a woman. It's the first time anyone has shown care for me in this form. Yang Kai brow wrinkled, secretly raising his vigilance. The more Shui Yu talked like this, the more he felt crisis closing in on him. For a woman like her, once she revealed what was concealed in the depths of her heart, yet didn't receive the response she wanted, the consequences would be dreadful. Once we untie the soul chains, without that layer of entanglement, I don't know what I will do, but most likely my first instinct will be to butcher you. Shui Yu leaned over behind Yang Kai, her hands resting on his shoulders as she sighed. I'm prepared for that. Rest assured. I'll definitely run far away. So far you won't ever be able to find me. Yang Kai nodded. Your strength is too low. If I really want to find you, it doesn't matter how far you run or where you hide. Shui Yu still breathed hot breath next to Yang Kai's ear, her cold tones slowly showing signs of melting as she softly whispered, Is a woman like me really not enough to keep you? Yang Kai didn't say anything, but somehow a sense of sadness filled his heart. You're really cruel and heartless. Shui Yu clenched her jaw and muttered. The next moment, Yang Kai felt a sharp pain on his neck and drops of warm liquid dripped down on his skin. He couldn't help wanting to turn around and comfort her, but he somehow resisted. After a long time, Shui Yu released Yang Kai, her delicate mouth filled with golden blood. After swallowing this blood down, she once again grit her teeth and declared, Drinking your blood today is compensation for all the disrespectful acts you've done to me. If you ever let me see you again in the future, I'll peel your skin and eat your meat. Don't doubt me. I'll live up to my words. Go and never show yourself before me again. Because if you do, I don't know I will do. Saying so, turned her back to Yang Kai, her shoulders trembling, the tone of her voice rising in pitch. Yang Kai sighed softly, stood up, opened his mouth, but still didn't know what to say. Listening to the footsteps of Yang Kai's departure, Shui Yu's beautiful eyes burst into tears that seemed to flow without end. She knew that she would never have a chance to live like this again, and that starting today she would have to resume her role as Shui Yu third young master. A star shuttle shot up into the sky like a bolt of lightning, quickly dashing towards the starry sky. After an hour, Yang Kai stopped and stood amidst the stars, overlooking the colorful rainfall star. In the next instant, an indistinct shackle which was tying down his soul loosened and Yang Kai couldn't help feeling as if he had suddenly become free. At the same time, a questioning voice seemingly sounded in the ear. Yang Kai responded affirmatively. Then, with a loud bang, the invisible shackles on his soul suddenly shattered and all the sorrow and anxiety he felt for leaving Shuiyu disappeared, allowing Yang Kai's mood to completely clear up.